A grace-filled afternoon to everyone. Welcome participants to the 49th and 10th International PAFTE Convention. Every year, we always look forward to international, national, and mid-year convention. But this time, it's entirely different because we don't meet face-to-face, but on a virtual mode. Let me share some important things about PAFTE, our professional organization. The Philippine Association for Teacher Education, Incorporated, now called Philippine Association for Teachers and Educators, PAFTE Incorporated, a 5-decade-strong association of teacher and teacher educators since January 30, 1968. Now, what's the vision of PAFTE? It's a professional learning community of world-class teacher educators. And what is our mission? We commit ourselves to the following: continuing professional development of its members through research, conferences, workshop, and local international educational tours. Promotion of collaboration among teacher education institutions, the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers, an active participation in the discussion and resolution of national educational issues, and establishment of local and international linkages. PAFTE has strong linkages with the following: the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED. PAFTE is represented in the Technical Panel for Teacher Education. The COEs and the CODs are institutional members of PAFTE. We also link with Teacher Education Council, or TEC. Our TEI deans through PAFTE are invited in the preparation of syllabi and table of specification. Likewise, we link also with PRC, the Professional Regulation Commission. The PAFTE National Board and regional chairs monitor CPD trainings. We also link with Private Education Assistance Committee, or PEAC, a partner of PEAC in the Biennial International Education, where DepEd, CHED, TESTA, and PRC are brought together. And the last, the Department of Education, where we closely coordinate with DepEd in the deployment of FS students and student interns. We are happy to share with you our accomplishments. We initiated Project Write, or what we call writing resources for innovative teacher education. We publish books in teacher education and basic education written by PAFTE. Likewise, we also publish Professional Teacher Magazine, or PTM, 2 issues a year written by PAFTE and for all teachers. We conduct conventions in a year, the annual and the mid-year, but this time webinars and video on demand with CPD units. We also organize local and international tours with local and international partners, linkages amongst institutions. We also assist in seminars and conferences with ready pool of speakers and lecturers in teacher education and in basic education. We also give regular updates on teacher concerns through CHED, PRC, DepEd, PEAC, and Simeo Inotech. Now, let me remind you about some attendance requirement. To comply with the PRC CPD attendance requirements, you please click on the link published at the Q&A forum and complete the required information, or you can scan this QR code. The theme of the convention is aptly chosen to be attuned with the needs of times. This pandemic has brought many challenges in all aspects of life. So PAFTE chose the theme, the promise of social emotional learning amidst COVID pandemic. PAFTE is grateful to our generous partners, Lorimar Publishing House Incorporated, the leading producer of educational books and professional magazine, where our project Right has actively contributed in producing quality books in the field of education. And of course, Amicus Koi Solutions for providing technical expertise and consultancy services. To lead the opening prayer is one of the board of directors, Dr. Thelma Q. Alderite.
Opening prayer. Let us all predispose ourselves to the presence of God in our midst as we start the first day of the 49th PAFTE National Convention. Father, we praise you for this event and your purpose for it. We know that when we gather together, you always have a divine agenda. That even when we have done what you have asked, the results are so much greater than we ever could have imagined. Even in failed attempts, you blow us away with your faithfulness to provide what we need. Our prayer for today is that your will be done through this event. Take what we have prepared and multiply our efforts as only you can. Steer our intentions to align with our righteous will. Blanket us with your peace today, Father. Keep us physically safe, especially from the pandemic COVID-2019. Guard our hearts and minds from pride and selfishness. Keep love at the forefront of our minds today and the guiding light for all we set out to accomplish and celebrate. In Jesus' name, amen.
Now, going to tell what are your what we do expect from you. You are expected to be able to do the following after the webinar to prove that you have attained these learning outcomes. What are the outcomes of the day's seminar? You have to cite 2 practical applications of CEL in one's personal life. Cite at least 2 applications of CEL in the physical virtual classroom. State 2 educational problems met caused by the pandemic and solutions shared by the speaker. And state at least 1 information received from the partner agency. Now, please be guided of the webinar protocol. We have our chat box for your questions and comments during the webinar. To give the welcome remarks, setting of direction, and to introduce our speaker, keynote speaker is Dr. Brenda B. Corpus, our PAFTE National President, a recipient of the PRC Outstanding Professional of the Year Award, and now the Dean, Technological Institute of the Philippines. Dr. Brenda B. Corpus.
Our distinguished keynote speaker, Honorable Commissioner of the Commission on Higher Education, who will be introduced later, Dr. Caridad Taroja, clinical psychologist and professor of De La Salle University. Our other resource speakers for today, past presidents, Dr. Dayagbil, Dr. Amor de Torres, immediate past chair of PAFTE 4A, Dr. Ronald Gonzalez, and our speakers for tomorrow, our esteemed PAFTE advisors, hardworking and smart national and regional PAFTE officers, dear members of PAFTE, and the participants to this webinar. On behalf of PAFTE, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to this virtual convention. This is the second webinar that PAFTE offers to its members. The first was conducted 5 months ago, last June 8 to be exact. We are happy. We are back for a second webinar. Our theme song in this pandemic is Together Again. Life has to go on. PAFTE is alive and kicking. It has to continue serving its members. Our theme, the promise of social emotional learning amidst COVID-19 pandemic, is very opportune with the quarantine and quarantine stress that we and all our students are going through. Let us not allow COVID, the unseen enemy, to conquer us. Social and emotional learning is our powerful weapon. So at the end of this webinar, all of us are expected to continue working and living fully armed with cell in our homes and in our virtual workplace and classrooms. While the details of the two-day affair were given to us by Dr. Milagros Alborabo, our moderator for today, allow me to give you the gist of our two-day program. We have experts to share their thoughts about cell. We have PAFTE officers who are frontliners, not in the hospitals, but in schools, who will share their experiences on how they dealt with learning-related problems that came about because of this pandemic. We shall also get updates from our partners, from the Board for Professional Teachers of the Professional Regulation Commission, from the Teacher Education Council, from the Commission in Higher Education and Technical Panel for Teacher Education, from Private Education Assistance Committee, and from CMEO Inotech. They will update us on matters that concern us fresh from the horse's mouth. Cell is for everyone's well-being. We shall also have beauty and wellness exercise, which is definitely a demonstration of cell. In fact, research says learning is 80% emotional, 20% intellectual. This tells us that the affective element of learning determines to a very great extent how much learning takes place. Our very own experiences as students are a testimony to this. We didn't learn much when we did not like our subject matter, and more so if we didn't like our teacher. The opposite, however, is true. When we enjoyed the class and liked our teacher, we learned much, and that what we learned are etched in our memories. It is my ardent desire that all of us end this webinar with an evidence that cell has penetrated our hearts, that all of us will be more capable of empathy, which is, in the words of an unknown author, seeing with the eyes of another, listening with the ears of another, and feeling with the heart of another. Thank you, welcome everyone, and good day. Let me do my second assignment for today to introduce our speaker, our keynote speaker. I am honored to introduce our keynote speaker in this 49th National Annual and 10th International PAFTE Convention. Our keynote speaker in this year's convention is the youngest and the most recently appointed commissioner of the Commission on Higher Education. He brings to CHED his expertise in research, academic administration, instructional supervision, and curriculum development, and his wealth of experiences as head of the Human Resources Commission of the Lasallian Network, past Associate Professorial Lecturer of the LaSalle State University, Manila, Vice President for Academic Services of St. Paul University, Surigao, and Vice President for Research, Planning and Extension Services at Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Marikina. Our keynote speaker earned his Doctor of Philosophy in Education and Master of Education at the LaSalle State University, Manila, but earned his Master of Science in Medical Technology, baccalaureate degrees in Nursing and in Medical Technology from the University of Santo Tomas. Ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, let us welcome our keynote speaker, and is PAFTE Convention. Registered nurse and medical technologist, professor, researcher, administrator, the Honorable Commissioner Aldrin Arenas Darwila.
To the National President of the Philippine Association for Teachers and Educators, Dr. Brenda B. Corpus, PAFTE Vice Presidents for Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, National and Regional Chairs and Officers, Board of Directors of the Philippine Association for Teachers and Educators, to the local and international resource speakers and participants of this momentous event. Ladies and gentlemen, a blessed day to everyone. I am honored to have been invited to deliver this keynote speech for the 49th National and the 10th International Convention of the Philippine Association for Teachers and Educators. For several decades, PAFTE has proven its significant role in the advancement of teacher education in the country through its active engagements in training, research, and various professional engagement and colloquia. Even now, PAFTE has been able to exemplify the tenets of unity, collaboration, and linkages among and between teacher educators and teacher education institutions, even in challenging times such as this pandemic. PAFTE continuously shows that professional development can continue to be implemented and that various knowledge sharing practices can be conducted no matter what challenge and context. Truly, PAFTE always sets a standard of excellence in teacher education. The theme for this year's conference, which is the promises of social and emotional learning amidst the global pandemic, which is a timely statement that addresses the issues we are currently experiencing and enduring as educators and collaborators of learning in this 21st century environment. However, let it be made clear that while it is critical to discuss the social and emotional challenges faced by our students, we should also recognize and realize that our teachers face the same challenges. Indeed, as we pursue the discourse on the achievement of better outcomes for our students, our teachers can only serve our students if they are likewise supported. As the McKinsey report states, the quality of our learners is only good as the quality of our teachers. Therefore, I also intend to discuss the seemingly intertwining concepts of social and emotional challenges that our teachers face, and this would affect the social, emotional domains of our learners. To start with, let me first define the most important key terms in today's discussion. And this is the social and emotional learning, which other researchers and academicians may also refer to as the SEL. SEL, according to the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, or the CASEL, is the process through which children and adults understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. SEL provides a foundation for safe and positive learning, and this enables our students to enhance their ability to succeed in school, career, and life. For some years now, a number of forecasts have laid a significant amount of attention to fostering SEL. With the advancement of artificial intelligence and with the replication of automatic and clerical skills, the World Economic Forum clearly notes that the most difficult things, if not impossible to replicate, are social and emotional skills. In a report released by the Foundation of Young Australians, research indicates that future jobs will require skills such as being able to communicate, digital literacy, and critical thinking as compared with the jobs in the past. This means that social skills, which include creativity, people management, coordinating with others, service orientation, and negotiation, will all be highly needed in the world of tomorrow. This report was also validated by the World Economic Forum that sends signals to education policymakers around the globe, requiring them to deviate from measuring standardized skills, but rather foster the sense of individuality across students, requiring teachers to foster more student-centered approaches, project-based learning, and outcomes-based education. By fostering social skills among students, we hope to better prepare our learners so that their futures can be better secured. This is also to contest the likelihood that McKinsey Global Institute has predicted in 2017. That is, by 2030, with the rising automation of various occupations, 75 up to 375 million workers will need to undergo further training and retraining in order to better their social skills so that they may be employable. In addition to social skills, human emotions are also very important to be fostered in order to prepare students for the world of tomorrow. In this critical time, when there is a great need to combat loneliness brought about by the pandemic, and when self-isolation leads to further depression, it has never been more important to foster a sense of empathy among our stakeholders. According to Ushma Danak, a leading expert in the field of human resources, empathy is a key competence in the workplace, and one which is not taught or discussed as often as it should be. Having empathy will also allow leaders to be better equipped at managing the range of emotions that come up and then have the skills to be able to respond to the situation rather than react. Based on the similar study released by the World Economic Forum, a high prioritization on soft skills, which includes the tenets of empathy, emotional intelligence, and cognitive flexibility, compose the skills which will be most of value later on. In this time of pandemic, schools should expand their mission towards society, not only to foster the cognitive and academic development of our students, but more so to promote social and emotional advance of the learners. At the school level, social emotional learning strategies typically come in the form of policies, practices, or structures related to climate and student support services. This means that our schools should be able to provide a vast array of student-centered services, such as the guidance and counseling, foster safe and positive school climates, and having confidential mechanisms to report cases of abuse, harassment, or intimidation. Based on research, the provision of these services to protect the well-being of our students also positively affect academic, behavioral, and mental health outcomes for students. As school leaders, We must be able to secure the responsibility and accountability of our schools to offer an ideal context for the prevention, intervention, positive development, and regular communication between classrooms and homes. The roles of our schools in protecting the social and emotional well-being of our teachers and learners also became ever more critical, especially due to the disruption brought about by COVID-19 to the education sector. Due to COVID-19, the national economy has slid downwards. A number of our schools decided to stop operations, a number of teachers have been retrenched, and a number of services, such as social, cultural clubs and organizations, and sports and social civic engagement, have been put on a halt. The consequences of a pandemic seem to be uncontrollable for many industries of the world. Later on, almost 120 countries, including the Philippines, have stopped face-to-face learning, affecting the education of almost a billion students worldwide. Some of the disruptive impacts of the recent pandemic outbreak to the students, according to the research of Ausejo, French, Araya, and Safar, are the following. First, COVID-19 has led to a large number of students delaying graduation, withdrawing from classes, and intending to change majors. Second, working students suffered a 31% decrease in their wages and a 37% drop in weekly hours worked on average. Moreover, around 40% of students lost a job, internship, or a job offer, and 61% reported to have a family member that experienced a reduction in income. Third scenario, COVID-19's economic and health shocks vary by socioeconomic status and act as key mediators to explaining pandemic's effect. In the Philippines, some of the disruptive impacts of COVID-19 include: first, students reporting greater psychological impact as well as more cases of depression and stress. Second, almost 22 million students have missed out on school activities after major cities suspended face-to-face classes to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Third, enrollment in private as well as state universities and colleges, or SUCs, is expected to plunge by as much as 70% this coming school year due to economic hardships faced by students and their families caused by the COVID-19 crisis. This pandemic, according to the research by Terada in the year 2020 published in Edutopia, may worsen existing mental health problems and lead to more cases among students because of the unique combination of the public health crisis, social isolation, and economic recession. Because of the impacts brought by the pandemic outbreak, many students may be behind compared to a typical school year. So teachers will need to be very methodical about checking in on their students, not just academically but also emotionally. Some may feel prepared to tackle the new school year head on, but others will still be recovering from the pandemic and may still be winding from trauma, grief, and anxiety. These propositions fully support the idea that students' learning needs proper attention and sufficient social and emotional support from their parents, teachers, and school administrators. But as we develop the social emotional learning of the students, as initially illustrated, let us also not forget the personal and professional well-being of our teachers. They are considered significant faculties that propel social and emotional learning programs and practices in schools and classroom, and their own social emotional competence and well-being will have significant effects to the lives of the students. Even prior to COVID-19 pandemic, teaching is already considered as one of the most stressful occupations. Moreover, stress in the classroom is considered to be contagious. It may be surmised that the stress faced by our teachers will influence the way they teach, the way they interact with their colleagues and students, and the way they prioritize their jobs. Although teachers have a high threshold for stress and anxiety, they must be given attention and appropriate interpersonal assistance so that the said strains and pressures will not be redirected to their students by way of psychological transference. This scenario can be best exemplified on a survey conducted that educators are at an 80% change on a major health breakdown in the next 2 years due to the changing landscape in education. Based on the same survey conducted by Olison in the year 2019 from the University of the Pacific, teachers also scored high in compassion fatigue and secondary traumatic stress. The study clearly shows that teachers suffer and manifest significant limitations and human frailties, and thus need utmost assistance and professional support. Today, due to the changes brought by COVID-19 pandemic, educators across the world are working meticulously to accommodate those changes while also supporting their students' fears and concerns. With this, both experienced and beginning teachers are compelled to try various methods to test what may work, especially during the unprecedented time. In addition to managing social and emotional changes or challenges, teachers also feel the need to suddenly learn the ropes of flexible learning overnight. Moreover, as both teachers and learners adjust to this new normal, the delineation between living and studying inside the home, while this is yet to be proven, may also impact the social and emotional adjustments of our learners and teachers, especially for those who might find it challenging to separate their time and space for play and their time and space for academic work. As school heads and administrators, we are in the position to assist our teachers so that they may be able to support their learners. In an article written by Terada in the year 2020, we can consider these steps so that our teachers can better support the social and emotional domains of our students and thus be able to further address, if not avoid, social and emotional challenges. First, in the steps is to focus on relationships first. Fear and anxiety about the pandemic, coupled with uncertainty about the future, can be disruptive to a student's ability to come to school ready to learn. Teachers can act as a powerful buffer against the adverse effects of trauma by helping to establish a safe and supportive environment for learning. From morning meetings to regular check-ins with students, strategies that center around the relationship building will be needed. Second, strengthen diagnostic testing. Educators should prepare for a greater range of variability in student learning than they would expect in a typical school year. Local assessments such as quarterly examinations and quizzes can help teachers gauge how much extra effort or extra support students will need, how much time should be spent reviewing last year's material, and what new topics can be covered? Third is to differentiate instruction to continuously promote inclusive education for all. For the vast majority of schools, the abrupt transition to online learning left little time to plan a strategy that could adequately meet every student's needs. In the Philippine context, if our vision is to foresee the development of empathetic, compassionate, future-ready students, we should remember that teachers cannot give what they don't have. This means that they might not be capable of giving support and love, motivation and inspiration to our learners if they also feel that they are not equally supported. In a study conducted by Albrecht in the year 2019, our education leaders also have accountability in ensuring that the environment where our teachers serve must remain positive so that teachers' well-being can be supported. Our school leaders should continue fostering this positive environment for our teachers where they are respected as professionals, encouraged to design personalized learning experiences, and they are able to set realistic goals and they can create opportunities for relationship building. To support teachers during and in the immediate aftermath of the pandemic, the World Bank in the year 2020 identifies two key principles as well as opportunities for long-run improvement. First is to support teachers instructionally to ensure teacher effectiveness. Teachers need to be provided with professional development support to undertake flexible learning effectively. And second, support teachers technologically to ensure teachers' effectiveness. Apart from focusing on training geared for pedagogical and content development needs, teachers also need to be trained on the technical and technological aspects of teaching. In relation to the aforementioned statements, the Commission on Higher Education helps realize these principles by providing professional development opportunities and by working with public and private agencies in the provision of technological support to our faculty, staff, and students. To date, the Commission has been able to train more than 189,691 teachers on areas related to virtual classroom management, presentation making, facilitating learning, open and distance education, learning management systems, and module design and development. The ultimate goals of these professional development programs include: first, ensuring that our teachers are supported as they aim to teach in the new normal. And second, fostering partnership and collaboration between higher education institutions through various consortia with the hopes of leveraging the strengths of our institutions towards the collective advancement of higher education. One of the key examples, and the first to be approved among its kind, is the Region 5 consortium of more than 170 HEIs. Now, in the face of its rapid rollout to catch up with the incoming semester, it is now embarking on module development on disciplinal clusters, as well as developing a regional knowledge management center for all participating institutions. Another distinguished model is the Eastern Visayas Higher Education Flexible Learning Management Systems Consortium, composed of the 10 SUCs in Region 8 and the RIGHT Region 11 project in Region 11, or the Working on Resilience and Innovation for Teaching Excellence in the region. To also assist our teachers in addressing the challenges they face, particularly when it comes to teacher and student access to instructional materials, the Commission has also launched the FieldShed Connect, a website where learning materials can be used by faculty and students, which now include a total of 1,356 PDF materials and 353 educational videos, now used by almost 60,412 users. The Commission is also working more closely with the Globe Telecommunications so that our teachers may have free access to the PhilChed Connect. Apart from the technological, pedagogical, and content professional needs of our teachers, we also put premium to the physical well-being of our faculty and staff. Currently, the Commission has provided grants to state universities and colleges in the production of face masks and disinfectants to be given to our faculty members, staff, and students. A total of 22 million pesos is now allocated to 17 state universities and colleges, supplemented by a new approved budget of 71 million pesos for the 42 state universities and colleges. The provision of these physical resources is also supplemented with the Commission's mandate to provide psychosocial support to our faculty and students. Higher education institutions are instructed to ensure that structures and mechanisms are set for our faculty and staff so that they may be able to participate in safe communities that grant them access to socio-economic and psychosocial support. While we understand the challenges continue to surface and evolve, such as issues on capability building, capacity building, institutional connectivity, and monitoring and evaluation of flexible learning across the higher education institutions, the Commission remains steadfast in its pursuit to support our faculty, staff, and students. Discussions with government agencies such as DepEd, TESDA, and the DICT are further conducted. Alignment meetings, workshops, and discussions continue to happen across all levels in higher education, from the central to the regional, up to the institutional level. The increased support to academic and institutional research is fostered so that the best practices in teaching in the new normal becomes documented, analyzed, and utilized. Of course, as we look into the concerns of our teachers in their day-to-day struggles under this unprecedented global crisis, the Commission does not overlook the supposedly proactive support to the social and emotional well-being of our learners. This is in pursuit of our belief that the end goal of education must always be towards the holistic development of the learners. That is why, through the initiative of the Office of the Commissioner, when we were still at the peak of intense community quarantine measures, we spearheaded an online event entitled Webinar on Flexible Learning, Balancing Achievement and the Well-Being of Learners. The three focal objectives of this webinar were the following. First is to identify the possible impacts of COVID-19 pandemic on students' mental health and socio-emotional well-being, and to be aware of pertinent measures on how to prevent and manage such. Second, prepare our learners' mindset in the transition towards flexible learning, particularly on the importance of self-paced, independent learning and the new normal relationship between teachers and their students. And third, to provide insights to our administrators in coming up with relevant intervention programs and policies that will ensure synergy between the noble education objectives and quality and equity. This webinar highlighted the roles and responsibilities of not just teachers, but parents as well, in the transition of our learners towards flexible learning, reached more than 47,000 unique views and 1,600 reactions. Our stakeholders, the parents, teachers, and administrators alike across the entire nation were sincerely eager to discover how to support this generation of learners who have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of their education. Building on the clamor of our learners and teachers during the said webinar, the Commission took the initiative of establishing the Technical Working Group on the Flexible Delivery of Student Affairs and Services. This TWG was constituted to assist the Commission in the formulation of the policies and guidelines on flexible student affairs and services, focally aimed at assisting our learners in their transition towards the new normal of teaching and learning environment. Prior to the approval of the CHED Memorandum Order on the delivery of flexible SAS, thorough consultations were undertaken among our key sectoral stakeholders, may it be the student population, the SAS practitioners, and even our school administrators. Just to provide a vivid point of importance in the policy released by the Commission as drafted by the TWG on Flexible Student Affairs and Services, one particular aspect included within it is for all higher education institutions to address the psychological, socio-emotional concerns of our learners. Thus, SAS units must focus on assuring the availability of a variety of mental health support programs to their stakeholders. Furthermore, our students must also be informed and made aware of the existence of these said support programs of the institutions, hence the need for a wide information dissemination campaign, and to also make it as accessible as possible, utilizing alternative yet innovative means such as but not limited to teleconferencing, SMS-based, and tele-counseling. As the Commission shepherds and leads the conceptualization, implementation, and evaluation of all these initiatives, the Commission can only achieve this with the able support and collaboration of our partners and stakeholders. We believe that through our partner stakeholders, we will learn as one and we will recover as one as we brave in this new normal of higher education. The massive efforts made by the Commission in a short span of time only proves that change is possible and change is inevitable. We should seize the opportunity to find new ways in addressing the learning crisis and bringing about set of solutions previously considered difficult or impossible to implement. The creation of this platform is a concrete example that the socio-emotional needs of our students and teachers are the priorities that we must address, while our teachers also do their best to guarantee that our learners are given the same attention and support as students face their personal challenges. We will continue to support, listen, and work hand in hand to promote and develop the welfare of our teachers and students. We will formulate more avenues for the continuity of learning and initiate managerial interpositions in addressing environmental changes in education and the evolutions of academic landscape. As your commissioner, I can say to all my colleagues present here today that the Commission on Higher Education is a living government agency equipped in responding to the needs of our teachers and students, proactive in embracing the emerging attributes of learning paradigm, and humane in transforming education to become more humanized and personalized. Muli, maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Mabuhay po ang PAFTE, mabuhay po ang lahat ng guro.
Thank you so much, Honorable Aldrin Arenas Darilag, for that very informative and substantial keynote speech. We salute you for your laudable efforts in CHED, especially to address this pandemic. Mabuhay po kayo. So at this point in time, we would like to give our certificate of recognition to Honorable Aldrin Arenas Darilag. Our certificate of recognition to Honorable Aldrin Arenas Darilag in grateful recognition of his lofty thoughts, brilliant ideas, and rich experiences shared as keynote speaker during the 49th National and 10th International PAFTE Convention with the theme, The Promise of Social Emotional Learning Amidst COVID Pandemic. Given this day, here at the Zoom in our venue, our Microsoft Live, with about 1,500 plus in attendance. So we would like to thank you, Honorable Darilag, for this. So sign, Dr. Brenda B. Corpus, National President. Sign, Rodora M. Santos, President, Amicus Coi Solution, and President, Ronnie L. Martinez of Lorimar Publishing House. Mabuhay po kayo. PAFTE pledges its support in all your undertakings and endeavors, especially for teacher and teacher educators. Marami pong salamat. Mabuhay.
Thank you. Thank you po. Salamat po sa PAFTE. Salamat po sa lahat.
Thank you po. At this point in time, I shall ask all the attendees to stand up for a while. Stay away from your chairs. Let us stretch out a bit and let us do a simple energizer. Let us make this every second count. Are you ready? Are you now out of your chairs? Get out of your chairs, stand up, and let us do this energizer. So I do hope that you're going to follow the energizer that we are going to show you. It's just a short video. I could see that the others are not yet standing. May I ask you to stand up so that we can do these simple exercises? Are you tired at looking at your screen for long hours and sitting for long hours too? Oh, let's do this 2-minute exercise. Let's make every second count. Let's do PAFTE. Now I'm giving another term for the acronym PAFTE so that you will not forget our professional organization. PAFTE means physical activities for training and engagement. Let's get ready. Stand up, inhale for 4 counts. Hold in 4 counts. And exhale in 4 counts. Second, put your arms on your waist and make full circles of your shoulders in 4 counts. Are you ready? Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That's great. With your arms still on your waist, let's squeeze our body to the left. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Back to your original position. Twist your body to the right and count 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. As you move your arms forward, inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you move your arms sideways, count 1, 2, 3, 4. That's good. 5. Place your arms on your waist. Raise your right knee in 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And raise your left knee in 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, that's wonderful. Our 6th exercise. Put your arms on your waist and this time raise your right leg in 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This time, do it with your left leg. Ready in 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Seventh exercise. Put your hands on your waist and let us march in place in 8 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Wow! Almost done. For our last exercise, let us alternately raise our hands in 8 counts. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And let us shout, PAFTE! Let us now cool down after those exercises. Let us inhale for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Hold it for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And exhale in 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Congratulations! You are done with those simple exercises. Doing those simple exercises during virtual convention, learning engagement, and tiring work from the screen will surely make you physically fit, healthy, and well. Back to the screen. Yes, back to the screen. So, remain seated. I'm happy that you did well. I do hope that everyone did those simple exercises. So the 1,500 attendees have their short, simple exercises in this virtual conference. Now we are now ready to listen to our resource speaker. And to introduce our speaker today is none other than our auditor, Dr. Maria Gregoria P. Malihan, for the next set of speakers that we're going to have. Take it away, Dr. Malihan.
Good afternoon, PAFTEnians and future PAFTEnians. Thank you for joining us in today's webinar session on weaving social and emotional learning in the physical and virtual classroom. Leading us in today's discussion is a highly accomplished and amazing lady. She is currently an Associate Professor 6 in the La Salle University's Department of Psychology and is a sought-after international and local speaker, consultant, workshop facilitator, and practitioner. She is also actively involved in independent and multidisciplinary researchers with focus on clinical psychology, assessment, and intervention, child and family issues, including adoption and different types of families. In line with this, she also engages in psychological assessment in the clinical, industrial, and psychoeducational areas. With all these activities, it is not surprising that she carries with her 6 professional awards, most notable of which is the 2016 Outstanding Psychologist awarded by the Psychological Association of the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us give a warm welcome to our outstanding speaker, Dr. Maria Caridad H. Taroja.
Good afternoon all. Thank you, Dr. Malihan, for the introduction. But before I start, I'd like to say good afternoon to Commissioner Darilag, the President of PAFTE, Dr. Brenda, and all the officers of the National and Regional Board of Directors of PAFTE. It is my privilege and honor to be speaking in front of all of you. So a pleasant good afternoon to all of you. I hope I am coming across clearly, or because I can hear some feedback as well. All right. I'd like to share my PowerPoint. So if I could be given the, um, the opportunity to share my PowerPoint, I'm going to do that now. All right. Okay. All right, so I would like to start really with my mentimeter. So I will be shifting PowerPoint in a while. But let me start by saying that speaking to all the teachers right now, as mentioned in the introduction, I've given a lot of webinars and then lectures, but it is always a challenge to speak to teachers. Okay, why? Primarily because I feel like I'm always being evaluated, but this is really my opportunity just to share my thoughts as a psychologist regarding this very aptly themed convention, weaving cell in the physical and virtual classroom. Commissioner Darilag already talked about how important cell is, how important it is to take care of the social, emotional, and psychological aspects, not only of the students, but the teachers as well. Okay, so let me just go. And as mentioned, I am a fellow teacher just like all of you. So in fact, for my introduction, that's really what I'd like to be known. So let me get to know you better. So I hope this will really will not take much time. And we're all teachers, we're all preparing for our classes. We all know how it is important to be always interactive. So this is really a test. So I would like to invite all of you to go, if you have your phone, go to menti.com. So I will be doing a menti meter here. So I'd like you to go to www.menti.com and then use the code 9748224. So I invite everybody. So where are you from? So I understand that there are 1,500 teachers plus in this convention. And yeah, I know it will be very difficult for everybody to participate given connectivity issue, but just to know where are we, who are the participants, and that I think all parts of the Philippines are represented. I also wrote there outside the Philippines because I know that there are some who are really now based outside the Philippines. The director of this live show, Dr. Doritz, I think, is outside the Philippines. So we can see that currently, okay, those are answering that the majority are really from Visayas, the Northern Luzon, and okay, so maybe not everybody are really like in their second gadget. Okay, so I'm doing Menti because I'd like to see that this is also like something that we can use as teachers, okay, when we go back to our classes. Okay, so I will not wait for everybody to answer, but really, there are really a lot of teachers from the Visayas and they're participating in this Menti. So thank you very much. Okay, I will move to my next Menti slide. Okay, I'd like to find out who among you are grade school teachers, high school teachers, college teachers, administrators. Okay, wow, ang dami. Mostly are college teachers. So, and then very few grade school teachers. And then I see some who are also administrators. So you can see that all school personnel are represented in this PAFTE convention. So thank you all for those who are part, and dami, mostly college teachers talaga yung nandito 100 plus, no? So with 1,500 participants, I'm sure the percentage will increase, okay? So in the interest of time, I'm going to move ahead of my mentimeter, but you can keep on answering. Okay. So at this point, I'd like to find out what is the mode of teaching in your school now? Are you all doing online, or are there some schools, universities that are doing face to face, or you're doing modular, or you're doing hybrid, which is a combination of different type of learning? Commissioner Darilag also talked about one of the webinars of CHED, which is flexible learning, and I happen to be one of the resource persons in that particular webinar. And early on, I think CHED is already talking about flexible learning. And when we talk about flexibility, it also includes the mode of teaching. So I can see that at least in the based on percentage here, so it's really online, modular, and then hybrid. Understandably, none actually is saying that they're doing face-to-face right now. Okay, thank you again for those who participated. At this point, I'd like to look at how are you feeling right now. Commissioner Darilag highlighted that it is important for teachers to be able to take care of themselves, to take care of their mental health. So in this mood meter, I'd like to ask you, in terms of your level of pleasantness and then level of energy, how are you doing? Okay, so what is your current mood now? So I'd like you to rate yourself in terms of pleasantness, low to high pleasantness, and then in terms of energy, low and high energy. You can see there the many points. Okay, parang nawala yung mga points. Okay, so a while ago you saw different points there. Sobrang dami siguro, no, nang sumagot. But okay, I'll go back to that later. But maybe you will know where are you. Are you in the second quadrant? And I see a while ago that many are in the second quadrant, although many are also like in the low energy and low pleasantness. Okay, what does that mean? If you're actually looking at what are the feelings associated. So if you are high in pleasantness, high in energy, can be very optimistic, lively, joyful, and you can see the feelings. Maybe you can look at what are my feelings when I answer this. Okay, so these are different feelings, and you can look at it. How am I feeling right now? And because this is mood meter, it changes from time to time. My point being here is it's always important to look into your own mood, into your own feelings, and to be aware of them. Okay. At this point, I will finish all my menti. Okay, so I'd like to ask
Ma'am
you.
Taroha, may we ask you to share po your slides about the results of the mentimeter? It cannot be shown po.
Oh,
Are you sure?
okay. Wait, I'll try to okay, I think something happened in the result.
Okay.
Okay, so it biglang nawala. So I don't know what happened to Menti. Maybe because I think there were too many answers. So but a while ago you were seeing the different the different points. So I think na-erase yung I don't know what happened. It could be a technical glitch sa Menti. So well, in the you can answer again, but in the interest of time, so ma'am, may I proceed?
Yes po. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, thank you po. Okay, so like what I said, this is the mood meter. I think what can people do is to look at how did I answer and where is my answer in terms of the mood meter. Okay, so this is now, wow, ang bilis niyo sumagot, one word that describes cell, and this is what we call word cloud. In word cloud, the bigger the font, that means more people answer that. Okay, and you can see in the word cloud that really three words are coming across: challenging, empathy, and then happy. Okay, so if you look at it, and then you can see all other words. I will be sending the result of this to PAFTE, to the officers, to Dr. Brenda, and then to Dr. Dory, so that you can see this is how the PAFTE teachers see cell. What do they think of cell? So you can see there, no, it changes as new answers emerge. Okay, so thank you. So I will move forward now. Okay, now, I'd like to ask each one about your level of familiarity. I think many of you may have had training on cell, may have attended workshop on cell, or maybe doing a lot of readings. But maybe for some, this is something new. Okay, as a group, I'd like to ask you, how familiar are you about cell in general, cell strategies, and then what about online teaching? Okay, I am seeing here that many people are really familiar with online teaching, but not so much about sales. So this is really a good opportunity. And then Commissioner Darilag actually said a lot of concrete things that can be done in relation to sell, and that makes my job now easier because I will just be talking about very concrete practical examples, and we'll be focusing on that. You can see here that people may not really be that familiar with sell strategies or even sell. Okay, 2.7 out of 5. Okay, not bad. Then online teaching is 3.5. We can see that maybe there are still people who are struggling with online teaching. So this is a good like assessment of how we are doing as teachers. And this is also a good practice. Okay, maybe you can do Menti in your classes. Okay, now, and I am showing you different types of activities that you can do in Menti. You can have what we call like get the frequency count. You can do the scale. You can do word cloud. At this point, I'd like you to ask to write challenges that you experience or experiencing this academic school year. So writing modules, anxiety, internet connection, strategies for math. There are just too many challenges that we are facing, okay, or that we will face for those who have not started classes. So internet connection, technical glitches, and I think technical glitches will be part really of our classroom. And that's why whatever technical glitches we experience here in this convention, we know that we will experience that in our classes. So it really mimics the reality of our classes. Monitoring of learning, sleepless nights, and doing modules, oh really. And then we actually saw that in news how difficult it is for the teachers to do learning. And then we will kind of like see news or hear news, read about it, how difficult classes are for students. But I think the challenges and difficulty are doubled, maybe 4 times more for teachers. And here are some examples of the challenges that you have mentioned. Overexposure to radiation through and parents' cooperation and understanding. There are just too many challenges. There are 1,500 of you here. Maybe there are 1,500 challenges. Okay, I hope you will not mind in the interest of time, because I'm also managing my time, that I will move on to the next to my next question. This is just to show you how we can be very interactive in our classes. Okay, so with the use of mentimeter. Okay, my next, and I think this is my last question here. What are you looking forward this school year? Okay, so in spite of all these challenges, what are you looking forward? Okay, yes, we are all looking forward to the end of the pandemic. Okay, and then online teaching well, better internet connection, I suppose, new kind of teaching experience, long time to prepare module. Some of the things that we are looking forward are also in a way not too positive, but at least we are preparing ourselves for that. But I think many are also looking forward to more positive things as teachers, change, better school year, the eradication of the COVID-19. So I think it's very important to look at the things that we are looking forward. Thank you very much. So this is just the Menti, so to engage you and then to know that the participants and to know that I have participants here. So now I'd like to share my main PowerPoint. Ma'am Doris, I don't know if I can just go to my PowerPoint and if it will be automatically shared. I'm not too sure about that. Let me go. Is my PowerPoint sharing?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much. Okay. All right. All right. All right. So just give me feedback if there is problem with my PowerPoint. So it's entitled Weaving Cell in the Physical and Virtual a classroom. And like what I said, Commissioner Darilag made a very good introduction already. So I will just go to the practical tips and then examples. And basically here, my outline is I will look at the COVID-19 pandemic context and then give you an overview of cell, which Commissioner Darilag started already. And then really I'll be talking about weaving cell in the physical and virtual classroom. I will talk about my classroom, meaning your classroom, my technology, and then which is actually mentioned by Commissioner Darilag also, that the teachers need to be prepared not only in terms of the instructionally, but also technologically. But to me as a psychologist, what is more important is the psychological preparation of the teachers. It's very difficult to talk about weaving cell in the physical and virtual classroom if we are not prepared as teachers. Okay, I hope you don't mind. I'm kind of like speaking very fast because there are just many information here, and okay, so I'm would really like to share all of this. So I will be sharing what I know based on my experience as a teacher myself and also as a psychologist. And this is perhaps one of the well, you can say, opportunity that we psychologists see in this COVID-19, the increased awareness of mental health. Okay, and then embedded not only in our personal life but also in the professional life as well. So let me go about the COVID-19 pandemic, and this is also something that I shared when I gave a talk to Chad in terms of the flexible learning, that this COVID-19 is a global crisis and everybody's affected. The learning is affected, teaching is affected. And this data is, as you can see, April. You can just, we can just say many things have happened already. Okay. And then worldwide the learners are affected, and this impact are also like the same impact that our Filipino learners are experiencing. Not everybody have household computer, not everybody have internet. That's why we are all like doing our module. Okay, and then as mentioned, when we talk about flexibility in learning, it's not only online all the time. There are many ways of reaching our students. Okay, then I would like to go to a more individual level. All of us experience this during the quarantine. These are the stressors that our students experience, their families experience, their parents experience, but we teachers experience as well. Okay, the quarantine, the fear of infection, frustration, inadequate information. Now, post quarantine, but although technically we're still in that quarantine, but maybe there's more flexibility in our movement right now. There's still a lot of things that we need to adjust. And part of it is the new normal that our school is experiencing. Stress, okay, I don't need to explain this. And When we talk about stress, we talk about stress in online classes. We talk about multitasking for the teachers. We talk about stress for administrators. We talk about stress for parents. So we are all going through that, and nobody is exempted from all this stress. And people react to stress differently. The feeling of isolation during quarantine, and then Commissioner Darilag also talked about anxiety, depression, and in our practice, we have really seen rise in terms of people experiencing greater anxiety. More people are really feeling the depression, and I'm not only talking about teachers but professionals as well, including teachers. And I know all of you can relate to this stress. Okay, the writing of the modules, the sleepless night, there are just too many stress that we are experiencing. But and then I think both DepEd and CHED are doing their own responses in terms of responding or helping the institutions, the schools, the teachers respond to these stresses better. Okay, now now this COVID-19, maybe we can reflect what does this mean to us on a personal level? There's really so much uncertainty. We don't know when COVID-19 will end. There's so much unpredictability. There's no vaccine yet. And it's a good time to reflect on what we value most. And I really like the FAPTE team right now because it kind of like highlight that our mental health, our psychological well-being is important for teachers and for students alike. It's not like the students are more important. Yes, they are important, but our own mental health is equally important. Hence, socio-emotional learning may need to be highlighted in the face of adversity. Okay, so there's no way we cannot do we cannot get away with that. Okay, let me just check my time. Okay, so socio-emotional learning is an important concept, and let me just give you an overview of cell, which I think is kind of like technical. Maybe you can you can read about it. So just to give an overview, and then here, in terms of development of our students, we kind of look into all these aspects. Okay, the physical, emotional, social, intellectual, spiritual, and moral. As teachers, through the years, the focus really is like academic learning, intellectual learning. But I think through the years, people have also highlighted that it is important to talk about physical, emotional, social. All of these are equally important. Okay, but now we're highlighting the social and emotional. Okay, and this is like a definition that was actually mentioned by Commissioner Darilag already. So it's managing emotion, achieving goals, etc. No? I'll not get into that. But maybe it's good to look at it. What are the components of social emotional learning? So it's really like teaching our students management, managing their emotion, teaching them self-awareness, responsible decision making, relationship, how they relate with people, how they relate with other people, classmates, teachers, parents, and the society at large, and social awareness. So when we talk about cell, these are the components of cell. I think many are familiar with that. And when we talk about those 5 areas, so these are actually the things that are being developed in many, from the introduction of Dr. Brenda and then all the speakers and then Commissioner Darilag, maybe the speakers tomorrow will be talking about developing empathy. Okay, making how do we teach students how to make choices? How do we make them collaborate? And then resiliency is another buzzword now. And then making the students reflect. Okay, so these are the components of cell. And if you look at the cell, and you can there are just too many information that you can search from the World Wide Web about these cells. So, and anyway, I wrote all my reference there, so you can look at the different areas, like maybe okay, for social awareness, perspective taking is important. Why is this important? Like uh, primarily, what we ask is when we do cell, how can I integrate all these key concepts in my classes? When I teach math, can I talk about perspective taking? When I teach science, can I talk about impulse control? When I teach history, can I talk about social engagement? So these are like the concept that you see. Okay, where can I integrate all these self key concepts in the lessons that I am doing? And then why? Why benefits of cell? Like Commissioner Darilag, this was already highlighted. So based from a psychological vantage point, cell can reduce anxiety, substance abuse, suicide, depression, violence, and in the context of our classroom can increase attendance, test scores, pro-social behavior, kindness, empathy, and personal awareness. There are many literature that will support this. Okay, is cell important in academic learning? So I just like put this all this so that we will know this is not just like a buzzword. This is important, and cell has been there even prior to COVID-19, prior to quarantine. Everybody thinks that cell is important. Okay, parents, teacher, administrator said yes. Okay, and then what are some of the benefits of cell? It increases, like what I said, social behaviors, it decreases emotional distress, anxiety, and in one particular survey, 77% of all teachers say CEL can improve academic performance. 87% of teachers believe that it can prepare children for the real world, and 87 believe that CEL can help children become good citizens. And when we talk about soft skills, these are the soft skills. And then even employers, educators, we all believe how important sell is. So this is not like a concept that we need to sell. I mean to sell to teachers, educators. We all know how important sell is, and then more benefits of social emotional learning. Okay, um, but what are the core features of effective sell? I think maybe some of you have attended some sell training already. So I just look at the important aspect. Cell is, for it to be effective, it should be planned, theory, and research based. And I really like the sharing of a Commissioner Darilag because it's all like what I said, evidence based. There are literature that support. And then a cell teaches cell skills for application to daily life. In other words, going beyond our discipline, the concepts that we teach. Maybe let's say we're teaching higher math, we're teaching biology. Okay, so how do we integrate a cell? And it addresses affective social dimension. It is coordinated. Maybe my point being here is it's not something na today magsasell ako tapos kakalimutan ko na siya the week after. So it's something that has to be planned and purposeful, and ideally, technically, it will involve the community, the whole school, and there is really a constant evaluation. Okay, so CEL, as mentioned by the speaker, by Commissioner Darilag a while ago, it talks about institutional support. In other words, when we talk about this, kumbaga, yung eskwelahan natin should actually talk about, okay, we are supporting this. And how do we support this? And then it's also about teaching pedagogy and school personal support. Hindi lang siya, okay, I will do it, sariling kayod ako as a teacher, I will do this independently. And then it talks also about skill building. In other words, it is very purposive. These are now the technical aspect of CEL, no? But now, really, the important part of my sharing is how do I now weave cell in the physical and virtual classroom? I will go very quickly because I think I don't have much time, and I'd like to really go in terms of the self-care. So when we talk about cell in my classroom, okay, how do you weave it? Whether your classroom is physical classroom or virtual classroom. Okay, recommended ways to integrate cells. So you have to embed it within your maybe learning outcomes, objectives, and you have to use the risk and resilience framework, which is really very psychological in nature. So that's so that you can see, okay, what are the risks, okay, and then what are the resilience framework, so that I can help my student develop resiliency. Now I will go to very concrete example. You have to be culturally grounded and it has to be integrated. Okay, so this is my source of this: the crucial role of social emotional well-being in the context of adversity, and that's where I got my reference. 7 guiding principles: create, integrate, instruct, reflect, respect, communicate, empower. I wish I can go to each of this very detailed and give concrete example, but I will be going maybe one example for each one. When we talk about create, it's really creating a nurturing, caring, and safe environment for students. That's self-explanatory. And then as a school, as let's say administrators, how do we create this? Okay, a safe environment for our students. Okay, we also have to create safe and supportive school models. We can look at safety, we can look at the environment of the schools, and we can look at engagement. So important thing is creating and nurturing, creating and safe environment for students and for teachers as well. And then there are many ways of integrating social emotional learning. Okay, and then I just look at this example. So you can look at the internet and you can for every particular concept, like let's say I'm teaching art, I'm teaching, let's say, religion, I am teaching science, I'm teaching math. How can I integrate this? Okay, number two, integrate. Whenever possible, incorporate self-skill building into your academic instruction. Okay, so maybe when you're teaching, let's say for lower grade, let's say when you're teaching fraction, the whole idea of maybe teamwork, or maybe when you're teaching, let's say fraction, also the whole idea of sharing, or when you're actually teaching, let's say a particular concept, the idea of being self-aware, okay, of your feelings, expressing your feeling. So this is really finding different ways how you can integrate self in your specific topics or concept. So how do you teach social emotional learning skills? So of course, we don't want it yung parang pilit na pilit. Pero ayaw din naman natin na parang dadaanan lang. So it has to be very purposive. And then number 3 is instruct. Provide explicit guidance and instruction in self skills. So that can be done. Maybe it's easier than, let's say, in homeroom. Or maybe there are some particular subjects that this is more related. But I think you can embed this, whatever subject you're teaching, even literature. And then let's say you're about guiding principle number 2 is reflect. Reflect on how social and cultural contexts are embedded. Like maybe when we talk about culture, culture in Mindanao may be different than, let's say, culture in, let's say, in northern part of the country, or even maybe the culture in Visaya. So it's important that when we talk about cell, we don't just adopt the Western concept. We need to actually integrate it in terms of our own culture. And then culture reflecting on social and cultural context talks about our culture, values, priorities, beliefs, and language. Okay. So siguro mabuti kung ituturo natin dun sa language natin talaga. Okay, and then respect, guiding principle number 5 is respect. Foster respect for oneself and others, and this one can be taught whatever subject you're teaching. Listening to people, listening to one who's talking, listening to the reporter, waiting for your turn. There are so many ways of embedding this. Okay, and then communicating. When we communicate, so we talk about communicating to our families, communicating to parents, so exchange ideas about cell with all stakeholders and early. And then the seventh is empower. I think currently this is for everybody. We need to empower our students. If you are like an academic leader, you have to empower your teachers. If you are the principal, the dean, the president, the vice president, administrator, you have to empower your teachers so that they can empower their students. So we have to roll out all of this spirit of empowerment. All right. Instead of giving students a map to the future, teach them to find their own route, which is really the whole sense of empowerment. All right. Now I'd like to talk about my technology. Okay, we cannot weave this cell if we're not prepared technologically, as mentioned by Commissioner Darilan. So, are we prepared? How prepared are we in our virtual classes? Are we ready with our camera, microphone, headset, computing device, whatever, internet connection? I'm talking about virtual classes. But certainly, if we're doing modular, so this is a different strategy altogether. But I think at the very least, if we're doing virtual or remote, we need to be prepared technologically. Okay, so um, all right, are you ready with your gadgets? So with our computing device, with our microphones, okay, with our headsets. So these are the different gadgets. And of course, it goes without saying that we have to be ready with our internet connection. Programs and applications. I think different schools are using different platforms. Like here, we're using Microsoft Teams. Some schools are using Google Suite. Some are using Zoom. So are the schools ready for all of this? Okay. And what about your interactive presentations and lectures? And I just showed you an example a while ago how you can use Mentimeter and how you can use these other teaching tools. Now, these teaching tools, some of them are free, some of them you have to pay so that you can get the full features of that particular application. How ready are we with all of this? And like what Commissioner Darilag mentioned a while ago, CHED did a lot of training, and I suppose DepEd did a lot of training also. And then the modular, how do you create all of these modules? Now, again, I'd like to talk about maybe if you can give me 10 more minutes in preparing myself for self. This is very important, perhaps more than the technology, more than the concept of self. It's really preparing myself. And this is really what I bring, what I would like to share with all of you as a psychologist and as a mental health advocate. All right. What teachers can do, please take care of your mental health. Like what is said, you cannot take care of your student if you yourself are not able to take care of your own mental health. Learn new ways of doing things. And I think salute to all teachers. We have been adjusting. I am a teacher as well. Okay, so we have been adjusting. Okay, whether it is remote, modular, online, whatever, we're trying our best to learn new things so that we can reach out to our students. The delivery of lessons, there are many resources and opportunities. Please take advantage of all the resources in the CHED website. Maybe DepEd have their own websites, the resources of your school. Make your lessons as engaging as you can. You can just imagine, okay, even if you're talking to this computer, you need to be very engaged. You change the inflection of your voice, you move your hand. Because I've done a lot of webinars, I got used to talking to this computer, to facing the camera, so that I can look at you, and then I cannot get away with my hand movements because it makes be more engaged and animated. So how do you engage your students? You have to connect facial expression, gestures, eye contact, change the inflection of your voice, and be very flexible and accommodating with deadlines, evaluation. Most importantly, be kind to students and be kind to yourself. Okay, attend to your wellness. I will be very quick here. Please attend to your physical wellness. Ang ganda ng ginawa ng PAPTE kanina, no, ni Mamila, no, yung ating exercise. Kasi totoo yun, ano? We can be just like so glued to our computer and we forget to stand. So attend to your physical wellness. Physical wellness talks about good food, good rest, and good sleep and activity. Okay? Let's attend to our mental wellness. And I think as teachers, baka ito yung na-prioritize natin. Ito yung napagtuunan natin ng pansin, ano? Learning new ways of doing things. And I think, again, salute to the teachers. We perhaps have attended to our mental wellness, but maybe not so much with other dimension. Emotional wellness, just being aware of your feelings. Pag nagagalit kayo, nagagalit kayo. Pag nalulungkot kayo, nalulungkot kayo. Have an outlet to express that. Kunyari, hindi naman ibig sabihin pagalitan yung estudyante nyo ng walang dahilan. But if you feel like there is that part, because feelings are natural. We all experience those feelings, positive and negative. It's important that we are aware of our own feelings. How can we teach self if we ourselves are not aware of our feelings? And then social wellness, be connected with people who matter. Your family, your colleagues, people who help you. Be connected with your students. Be connected with your co-teachers, with administrators, okay, with your team in the schools. Occupational wellness. Do what you love what you do. Perhaps this is one teaching, as we all know, is a noble profession for many of us, maybe for all of us. This is not just a job. This is like a vocation. So I think in terms of that we all love what we're doing, and most of the time we really go beyond just teaching. And again, if there's one profession that we really have to salute this day, aside from the medical professions, all the frontliners, teachers are really frontliners. Okay, so I'd like to believe that. And then let's attend to our financial wellness. Okay, and that's really like spending within your means. And we should actually be thankful, grateful that we have a job. I mean, we will not be losing our job. In fact, there's really more job for us. But you can just imagine people that we know, maybe our own family members who have lost their job because of the pandemic. And attend to our environmental wellness, okay, conserved energy, the resources. And I know some of you have noticed that social media posts like pre-quarantine, how dark the sky is, and then during quarantine, how clear the sky is. So parang nag-reboot din yung ating environment because we have not been using energy, we have not been using all this different transportation. And of course, spiritual wellness. And I think we all hang on to this spiritual wellness during this quarantine period. It's really like making sure that we are whoever that being is to us. Okay, we may have different religions, but spirituality here is not about a religion, but that sense of believing in a higher being. Now, I'd like to talk about self-care. So please take care of yourself. Self-care is really attending to your own self-care and purposefully. Okay, benefits of self-care, you know how it's important: productivity, motivation, healthy relationships, and it will prevent us from getting tired easily. And these are just some example of self-care activities. So kung napapagod na kayo kaka-social media, then okay, stop getting into social media, and then do things that you enjoy doing. Now, I'd like to look at it. Self-care can mean forgiving yourself, can mean saying no, staying at home, setting boundaries. I think we teachers, we are all guilty of being so selfless, okay, giving to our students, to our family, that we forget ourselves. if there is only one message that you will remember from my lecture, aside from, of course, Giselle, it is really I matter as a teacher and I have to take care of myself. And self-care will be different for all of you. Okay, I'll try to skip some slides already. Self-care is not seasonal, it's a habit. Maybe starting from now, you can think of every day I will do one thing for myself as my self-care activity. How can you do it? Make sure that you put it in your calendar para hindi niyo nakakalimutan. Talk about it to your partner, to your spouse, to your child, to your parent, to your sibling, to your co-teacher. So let us remind one another that we need to do self-care. I'm an advocate of mental health and self-care as well. So this is very important. Ask your boss for flexibility. Kunyari, nahihirapan na talaga kayo, hindi na kaya. Reach out. Okay? Bring your children with you when you do self-care. Okay, let's say when you go out, when you take a walk, bring your children, bring your loved ones. Okay, bring your pets with you. Okay? And infuse self-care into your daily habit. Okay? Self-care is different for all of us. Find what is important to you. It's very difficult to sell in whatever we do when we do not take care of ourselves. Okay, self-care is giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. You can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. How do you intend to take care of your students if you have not taken care of yourselves? Okay, and just to end with a quote from UNESCO, educational responses to the crisis are capable of changing the meanings, purposes, and values of school. And to us, okay, for PAFTE, for all of you, for all teacher, part of the educational responses is to prepare ourselves instructionally, technologically, but more so importantly, to prepare ourselves. Okay, be an encourager. The world has plenty of critics already. Learning together even when we're apart. And I'd like to end by keep calm and teach, whether online or remotely or through module. Keep calm and stay safe online. Teachers are frontliners to always and forever. Okay, these are my references. Okay, and these are also my online references, credits to the slides that I use. And I'd like to thank you again, once again, thank you, Papte, for this opportunity to speak to my fellow teachers and fellow educator. It's a great honor for me to be speaking to all of you. And thank you. Pleasant good afternoon to all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Taroha. We must really sell to our colleagues. So we would like to ask those in the tech support team and in the question and answer to please tell us or raise the questions that Dr. Taroha will answer for the open forum.
Good afternoon, ma'am. For the first question, the difficulties educators go through this pandemic season is beyond measure. Why do you think are there some individuals who counter good intentions as well as movements in the learning of the young? Your thoughts, please.
Okay. That's really a reality, and that's also sometimes we wonder where are some people coming from, and then like the maybe the resistance. But to me right now, this is really all part of people adjusting. So even if we have like different perspectives, sometimes what I'd like to really share is for us to be very understanding, even if people don't share our sentiments, or like what you said, they counter, okay, all this, like, okay, these are the challenges, these are the responses, and sometimes we just call them, there are negative people who will counter. So to me, as part of our response, really, and also as a self-care response, is to try to understand that person, okay, where that person is coming from, and then, instead of like arguing and then convincing one another, maybe the spirit of really understanding one another, and then say, okay, this works for me, maybe something else will work for you, we can share. So I think it's really the spirit that we carry, and then the demeanor. You all know that if we kind of like argue with one another, okay, that will not bring us to like a collaborative effort, and that may not also encourage self. So what I'm also saying is that it's also like disposition. So self is not only just content, but also like our own disposition as a teacher, to be understanding, to be empathetic, even to those who do not agree with us, and who question us, and who will like be negative. So I hope I answered the question.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question. There is a current post which is trending on Facebook right now about the misbehavior of students while their teachers is doing online classes. The teacher's face was posted, and the private chat exchange of
Yeah.
students was also posted. What actions can be taken to protect our teachers from this humiliation in social media?
Oh, yeah, that's really, um, I suppose, I did talk about risk and resilience framework, okay, a while ago. So when we are into this new kind of platform, there are really risks, okay? So the question is, how do we avoid that? Okay, to me, one way of avoiding that is really at the very beginning. Part of it is really teaching our students what we call the safe online behaviors, or what we call decorum. Okay, in this online behavior, disrespect for teachers. We all know that that also happens even face to face, right? So how students will talk about teachers negatively, take pictures, post them, but because they're not online, they're not virtual, we hardly do not see them. But now, maybe that will a lot of people will be doing that. So what actions can be taken? So to me, what's important is really like preventing that to happen, explaining to the students, engaging the student, engaging the parents, but certainly we cannot avoid them. So in the same manner that how we handled students like that, maybe through our guidance office, maybe through homeroom teachers, and then the disciplinary maybe head. So there are different ways of handling that, but of course currently, what can we do so that we can be more, and is really to engage them, okay, so that we can prevent. If not preventable, we just need to do one action at a time. Talk to the students, engage the family, engage the community, and then as a whole community, we kind of help one another. And yeah, I don't know what else. No, maybe some of you will have some ideas how to do that. It might also be good to have maybe a support group, no, for teachers. And I think Commissioner Darilag also mentioned that, like the consortium, and that sharing of best practices. How can we avoid this type of situation? What are the best practices? And then in case they happen, what can they do? So we can write so many things that can happen. Of course, um, ang mahirap kasi ngayon, ayaw natin nung an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth kind of disposition. Yeah, so just we need to have a support group for the teachers. And at the same time, we need to have a support group for the students, how to handle these students. And then when teachers experience that kind of humiliation, how do we support them? How do we help them? Better, okay, is if we can actually stop all social media accounts. Oh, yeah. The thing is, kahit wala kayong social media, kung yung mga estudyante nyo nandun, syempre, lalabas din yung picture nyo doon, ano? So, paano ba natin iiwasan yun? So, we need to keep on engaging our students, really. Yeah, I'm sure there are more answers or more ideas from the 1,500 teachers here. So maybe we can have a forum and then just like talk about that and talk about it in a very positive way. Kasi ngayon, konting kibot, konting complain, nasa social media, I'm talking about students, I'm talking about teachers, and also sometimes parents, no? We're all guilty of that na konting discomfort, maybe hindi naman konti, no? Discomfort, challenges to post them in the social media. And we all know that social media is not a very good forum to address concerns. Social media can be used for announcements, but issues like this are better discussed in a private forum. So I hope I shed light to the question.
Dr. Taroja, do we have questions still, Dr. Malihan, or shall we?
Next question, ma'am. There are legal bases that we can consider in responding to such issues like Data Privacy Act and cyberbullying. Both teachers and students must be informed by these legal considerations to maybe prevent these issues. What are your takes and what are the steps that we can do, ma'am?
Definitely. Okay, definitely we have to be all informed about the legal precaution of the data privacy, the confidentiality. I think for the administrators of the different schools who are listening right now, that's really one of the steps that we can do to have really training about data privacy and then all this as mentioned, the legal aspect of the technology. But I don't want to call it legal, but it's really like more the data privacy and then the technological aspect of all of this. So I think all schools should start with that training lecture on data privacy and then how we can roll that out to our students as well. So that's also like part of our confidentiality, because when we are in a platform like this, we need to be informing everybody that there is confidentiality issue, there is privacy issue, and maybe the teacher should be informed about it. The parents should be informed about it. The community should be informed about it. Maybe the students don't know any better that if they're actually posting all of this about this teacher, they're breaking confidentiality and privacy issue. So I think we need to be informed about that. And let's say hindi pa nagagawa ng eskwelahan natin, bilang teacher, we should actually look into all of this. And there are many resources, again, out there that will talk about privacy, confidentiality issue.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Since we're talking about caring for others, what can we do for those students who are left behind because they have no access or very limited access to internet connection?
In the I suppose like maybe Chad and Deaf Ed have they have
in the context of CEL, ma'am.
yeah,
because they feel bad that they were not able to.
Yeah, I will go to
Access.
that. I will go to that. I think aside from this online learning naman or the virtual, okay, some people are actually doing modules. Okay, so I think many teachers are reaching out to their students, and that alone is like a cell lesson, like uh the waiting, okay, the what I mean, the sacrament of waiting, okay. So I may not be able to have access, but it's really part of developing patience, okay, and then understanding, acknowledging my limitations, and these are all self awareness of my limitations, the resources that I have, resources that I don't have. So this can be all presented in that way. And the mere fact that my teachers are reaching out to me, that's a cell lesson already in terms of teaching emotional regulation. And then also for the teachers that also, and teaching all other students, the element of or empathy. Okay, you have this, you're grateful, and you are actually you are lucky, you are fortunate to have all these resources, but not all students have that. So these are all cell lessons, social awareness, self-awareness, empathy, and that is also like the component of decision making choices. Okay, I don't have these resources, I have limited access to this. uh, I accept that as the fact of life for me. But there are many things. There are certain responsible decision making that I can do. I can borrow from my classmate. I can go to my classmate. I can share the resources of my classmate. All of these are opportunities for learning cell concepts. Okay, so even those that are not online and those that are reaching out, and then in fact, to me, those the so-called maybe those with limited resources, those that may be considered left behind because they have limited resources, they have more to learn about life. Yeah, so that's my take in terms of the cell.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your expertise. Since you do not have enough time, we apologize that we cannot publish or read all your questions at this time. However, we will respond to all your queries by posting the frequently asked questions on our website. Please visit us at www.pafte.org. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Taroja, for teaching us how to weave in cell in the physical and virtual classroom. So may we request Dr. Taroja to just leave her camera on for the certificate of recognition. So we would like to thank you again for teaching us how to cell in our virtual and in our physical classroom. Marami pong salamat. Thank you, Dr. Taroja.
Maraming din pong salamat sa pagkakataon.
So at this point in time, after listening to our resource speaker, definitely since OBE outcomes based, you'll not be able to earn your 15 CPD units without submitting your webinar and evaluation form and assessment task. In fact, the two outcomes were already discussed by Dr. Taroja. Cite 2 practical applications of cell in one's personal life and cite at least 2 applications of cell in the first physical virtual classroom. You are only given 2 days to submit your required tasks. 2 days. So that would mean today is October 9, so most likely October 11. Is it 11 or 12 that you are supposed to submit? And then your certificate will be emailed to you within 2 weeks after your submission. Please ensure that you provide your correct name and email ad because this one is computer generated. Please direct all your inquiries at www.pafte.org. Here in my notes, it's supposed to be submitted October 14. So we're giving you until October 14 to submit your required task. So many are asking how to become members of PAFTE. So we have activated our online membership since September 25. All you got to do is to fill out the registration form, and there are only 3 modes of payment. We have GCash, Paymaya, BDO, online, and bank transfer. Unfortunately, in our webinar, they tried other modes of payment. So please stick to the modes of payment that we are requiring. Over and above that, there are certain requirements for each type of membership. Once your qualifications or submission of documents are reviewed, that will be the only time that we're going to email your ID and your official receipt. Now we're going to have a 5-minute break, bladder control, bladder break, a little snacks, and so forth and so on. But we also have to take this opportunity for the others who are not going to have a 5-minute break to please take note of the newly published books published by Lorimar Publishing House. These are written by our PAFTE deans and faculty members through PAFTE Project Write. So congratulations to all our writers from Project Write, Writing Resources for Innovative Teacher Education, our PAFTE deans and faculty members. So again, a reminder for you so that we can comply with the PRC requirements. You are going to click on the link published at the Q&A for your attendance requirement, or you can just scan the QR code. So we are now trying to, this time we shall have, we are happy to announce that just like what we do in the face-to-face, you have your professional teacher magazine. This one, the registration fee includes the professional teacher magazine, which shall be delivered using the address you indicated in the webinar registration form. There are those who have already received the PTM. I was told that some of you have received your PTM already. So this time, PAFTE is blessed to have experts in the academe who are willing to share their best practices to address the challenges brought by the pandemic. The sharing of information shall come from a state university in Visayas, a private university in Mindanao, and a local college in Luzon. Our first speaker is the president of Cebu Normal University, the immediate past president of the Philippine Association for Teacher Educators, the dean of College of Teacher Education, former dean of the College of Teacher Education, Cebu Normal University, a technical committee member, elementary and secondary education on the Commission on Higher Education, a member of the Technical Working Group for the K-12 transition, the National Executive Vice President of SOCTEA, an assessor of ARQUAT of the Commission on Higher Education, CHED Region 7, a senior accreditor of AACUP, a course tutor for the TESOL or Teaching English as a Second Language by RELC Singapore, a flexible learning tutor on leadership, school leadership by Simeo Initec. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Philomena T. Dayagbil, President, Cebu Normal University.
Thank you, Mamila, for that heartwarming introduction. My greetings to our Commissioner of the Commission on Higher Education, Commissioner Aldrin Darilag, and Dr. Taroja for that very enlightening talk on SEL. My special greetings also to the very dedicated officers and members of PAFTE, and all the teachers and teacher educators who are watching us right now. Give me a second to share my PowerPoint. Please allow me, ma'am. Okay. There you are. My role this afternoon is to really share with you our experiences as an institution that would really look on how we have addressed the problems that are brought about by the pandemic. So if you are going to ask us, you would really say that there are a lot of problems, but I would just focus on one major problem that I think would also be shared by all of us, whether you are in a public or private basic education, or in public and private higher education, and that is the challenge on learning continuity. That's why the title of my sharing this afternoon is Learning Continuity, Braving the Storm. So this is my presentation flow. I will mention about the realities brought about by the pandemic. Then I would share our framework by which we brave the storm in terms of learning continuity. Then I will mention the different challenges that we have actually gone through as far as learning continuity, like flexible teaching and learning design, like embracing technology as part of this new normal, then recalibrating our curriculum, the capacity building of the faculty, and I will personally share my reflection or takeaway as we journey in this new normal. These are the realities, and I hope and I know you'll agree with me that the pandemic has caused unprecedented disruptions economically, socially, politically, and academically. And more than just a health crisis, it has resulted to an educational crisis. And when academic continuity during lockdowns, really, because there were lockdowns right away when pandemic started, it was really a challenge for teachers and students since most universities or even in our basic education are used to face-to-face delivery. So we were in a quandary when we shifted right away to online or whatever modalities that we also implemented during lockdowns. And the pandemic has created a new reality that educational institutions have to grapple with. I will share with you the data that was in March of 2020 when the lockdown was implemented and how we are affected as an academic sector. So if you look at this was from UNESCO Institute of Statistics last May 25 of 2020. 87% of the world's student population were really affected by school closures, with 1.52 billion learners and out-of-school youth and related educational institutions also affected by the lockdown, and 165 countries, maybe more, because there are already countries that are being affected when we have only from March, April, and May onwards. And all in all, globally, based on the data, we have 78.3 million teachers and educators affected. And with this, we have a special responsibility to ensure continuity, inclusion, and equity for all students. So I will share with you how did we brave this problem. Maybe I would say challenge. I really would not say a problem, but a challenge. So this is our framework of our learning continuity framework. We believe in the university, before we go into decision making, we would like to have evidence-based data as part of our decision making. So as early as the onset of the COVID-19, we have conducted situational analysis because we would like to anchor on findings of research that will be the basis of our directions amid and beyond the pandemic. So we looked at our institutional parameters, like if we go learning continuity, what really happens along the way amid the pandemic? So we looked into our learners and teachers, what happened to them during the lockdown. Then we looked into teaching and learning. So were there really things that were going on in terms of the current shift in our teaching and learning? Then we looked into the curriculum. Was the delivery the same in terms of the programs or outcomes of the curriculum in teacher education? Like in Cebu Norma, we also offer literature, communication, and nursing. Then we also assessed our kind of assessment that we gave during the lockdown when we shifted to face-to-face delivery. And then we looked into what kind of student engagement did we give to our students, then our technology and infrastructure, our research. So how would research be configured without face-to-face getting of the data? So we also had a survey and an interview for this one, our extension in the university, and our administration, policy development and support. So all this we looked into, we had a survey, we had an informal group discussion, and all the data we are using to build our scenarios. So we used the Policinski's 2009 scenario building, like if this is the probable scenario, what will happen? How do we go about learning continuity? If it's the best scenario, so the best scenario would be that there is no COVID, that maybe we can go back to face-to-face. But the worst scenario would be when rising cases would really be seen, just like in Cebu, sometime in August, September, or October. So what do we do then? How do we move? How do we strategize? And those are the things that we looked into as far as processes, and then the key problems and challenges. So with this, from the analysis to our process building to the consideration of key problems and challenges, we looked at the emerging themes in the new normal as the output of this learning continuity framework, with the intent that we have a resilient, safe, inclusive education in the new normal. So this is a product of a 54-page report that we have submitted to the Board of Regents and to the Commission on Higher Education Regional Office. I will share with you sample answers of our students before I will move on into how we looked into our continuity framework from the situational analysis to the outcome. So this was the situational analysis looking into the parameters were actually spearheaded by our Center for Research and Development. There were 4,072 students who participated in the survey in the Google, with all the stakeholders participating, from the students, the faculty, and the staff. And we asked a question, for example, what kind of learning activities did the faculty members give to you during the lockdown? Do these activities really address the outcomes? Our students said that, well, there were activities given right after the lockdown when we transitioned, but the outcomes, but the activities rather, were not enough for them to be able to get the program outcomes. So those were the comments of our students, even the faculty, and even also some of those who are also non-teaching but teaching. They're also part-time teaching. What about our technology and infrastructure? We realize that our students, most of them, they have connectivity but intermittent. And of all the gadgets, they only have one, like 77.5% really would have one laptop. And they said that their situation at home would not really be very conducive for learning. So there are a lot of questions, but I cannot share them because we are only given around 15 to 20 minutes on our practices. But this will show that the data that we have culled from our situational analysis are things that we consider in terms of our directions, so that when we decided to go for learning continuity and with quality, we decided that we go for flexible learning modality. So when you talk about flexible learning in times of crisis, how do we define the same also with the guidance of CHED, that we provide options to our learners in terms of 4 Ps, the process, the place, the pace, and the products. What is the process? How will I continue with my studies given my conditions? So we provide options for our learners based on the data that we have gathered. And then where will I continue my studies? Of course, in the present situation, we cannot go face-to-face. So it has to be in school, at home, whether modular or online or synchronous as asynchronous. When shall I proceed with my studies? So we also would give options for them instead of demanding from them that they have to submit this, etc. And how can I comply with my requirements? You see, these are the 4 things that are really culled from our framework, that we believe that if we go for flexible learning, we will provide options in terms of process, place, pace, and product. And so with this in mind, we look into our flexible learning as we migrated into flexible learning. First, we looked into the teaching and learning design anchored on the parameters of our situation analysis. Then we tried to look into technology. Then we recalibrated the curriculum and we capacitated the faculty. Remember, when we talk about the frontliners, they are the faculty, but in the context of this ones, what do you mean by TLS? That is a teacher, the learner, and the stakeholder, all rolled into one, their well-being. Because when we migrate, when we do things, teaching, learning, when we recalibrate, when we go for technology and capacitate the faculty, it is in the context of the teacher and the learner and the stakeholders' well-being. Let me talk to you about our teaching and learning design based on our research. So we realized that around 68% of our students really have connectivity, though intermittent. So for this, we are looking into the wired way of synchronous, asynchronous, and collaborative learning, because 12% of our students have strong connectivity, 68% have connectivity but intermittent, but 18% really of our students do not have connectivity. So this is our flexi design. We adopted the synchronous, asynchronous, and collaborative online learning. But for those 20% of our students, around 18 to 20% of our students would go for correspondence learning, project-based learning, modular learning in the context of flexible, safe, inclusive, and we should never forget, we should never sacrifice quality, because even if we actually go for this kind of design, the quality of education should also be at the prime importance. So that is the kind of teaching and learning design that we call based on our learning continuity framework anchored on our research findings. Then let's try to look into the recalibration of the curriculum. So if you look into our design, we had modular, and we still are having our modular right now, the second semester and the first semester. Then we also would recalibrate the curriculum. What does it mean? We mapped and identified the most essential and enduring outcomes in the curricular programs. So we advised our faculty, the deans, the program chairs, the vice president of academic affairs, that we cannot anymore get all the things that have been put there in the face-to-face modality, but we will identify what are the most essential enduring outcomes that we need to emphasize amid the pandemic. And so they revisited that because, like, for example, in teacher education, we have already curricular maps. So what we are doing, we are just looking into some of the most essential that we will incorporate in our online modality and even when we are making our modules. So there was the repurposing of the syllabi. What do you mean by that? Because our syllabi are really tailored fit for face-to-face, right? So we repurpose it, like what kind of assessment do we make adjustments for when we go for online and when we go for modular. So that was the great job that our teachers really and the program chairs and the deans really have done very well. And then we also designed the instructional strategies and activities and assessment because there will be assessments that will be adjusted in terms of enduring outcomes, and there will be instructional strategies that will be adjusted. Like, for example, when you go field study, you cannot anymore ask our students to go and observe a class in the Department of Education. So you just have to adjust. And teachers really worked very hard for that. And I'm just very appreciative of the faculty members who have moved heaven and earth and even burned the midnight candles just to recalibrate our curriculum in such a short time. And we also developed self-instructional modules. So that was how we recalibrated the curriculum in April and May and June, right in time also for our first semester. Then there was this, then another way that we looked into was the upgrading of our infrastructure. So we also noticed that when you talk about online, we have to have a support of infrastructure, and our Board of Regents, the highest policy-making body, really gave us a lot of support. Like we were given 15 million to beef up our infrastructure. We are just very happy, and we thank also Chad. I think if the relag is with us still, we are very appreciative of that. Then we established a structure of a Center for Innovative Flexible Learning, that's the CFIL, to support all flexible learning initiatives under the Vice President for Academic Affairs. So if you're going to ask me, Mamini, is this new? Yes, that is a new center that we established so that if there are problems in terms of flexible learning, whether online, synchronous, asynchronous, or modules in terms of modality, then we have the organizational structure to support with the chair and the vice chair and under the Vice President for Academic Affairs, because we believe that technology is here to stay amid and beyond the pandemic. So the last area as far as learning continuity was on the capacitating the faculty members. And I agree with Dr. Taroja and even Dr. Darilag that the prime movers in terms of what we are doing now would really be the faculty. So how do we capacitate them? What did CNU or Cebu Normal do for that matter? There were a series of webinars like flexible learning and approach to module development, because we have that in our Flexi design on how to make modules. Then we have also our training on our LMS, the Google Classroom. Then interactive module development. How would it do? What kind of format will we use for us to make it very friendly for our students and the teachers? And we also have other ways, the Neo LMS. Aside from that, what is very important is that if you look at this one, the psychosocial support session for our college faculty. Why? Because we realized, that even if we assist our teachers in terms of modules, in terms of LMS, but if we don't also try to assist them as far as psychosocial support, then that will also be not our rate of success in terms of learning continuity would not be possible. So we had psychological first aid for teachers, understanding the dynamics in middle and late adolescence, all these topics that would support our faculty. And these activities and trainings were initiated by our Dean of Student Affairs and our Department of Psychology, like we have listening, facilitating, and dialogue as therapeutic tools, so that these people also are the ones who facilitated our telecounseling services for our students and our faculty. Like I know and I would agree with our speakers, Dr. Taroja and Dr. Darilag, that we went through a lot of things. So teachers called up, there was the telecounseling service. Our students also had 24 hours communication student hotline, wherein they would just call and any guidance counselor will be available. So these were the things. Why did we do so? Because it was revealed also in our study that our students need assistance in terms of well-being. So that is as far as capacitating our faculty. So if you are going to really look at the picture, I would share with you my takeaways for this pandemic and as we move forward as an academic sector. I believe that crisis breeds innovation. We are in the midst of crisis. We cannot do anything but to make sure that we will try to meet the challenge. And when we meet the challenge, we have to innovate. And that is what we are doing. We have innovated, anchored on the research-based findings. However, I would like to remind everybody, my co-educators out there, that there is no one-size-fits-all solution for learning continuity. What I have shared with you right now might work for our university, but there are intricacies in your university, in your workplace, that you might adjust. So whatever I would share, you might think of it, but you might not necessarily follow everything in terms of our framework for learning continuity. But I think you can get some aspects of those. And in order for us to be successful in any crisis or in anything that we do, we need to collaborate and synergize. And that is the reason why we believe that we are successful. I don't say that we are perfect, but I think we are on our way towards really meeting and braving the storm on learning continuity because we have collaborated. We put our energy together, so it's a synchronized energy. And so I will give you an example of that collaboration and synchronization. We distributed modules because our learners, some of our learners are also not into online, as I have mentioned. They are not into, don't have very strong connectivity. So established connection with local government units, and the mayors are providing us with their gymnasium so that we can distribute our modules there. We wrote a letter. In fact, we were so happy because around 40 or 50 of our students were given also pocket Wi-Fi with loads already for the entire semester, because the mayor said, okay, ma'am, I think they have intermittent connectivity, so maybe we will just house them in our municipal hall, and then there is this pocket Wi-Fi, or if ever there's an available space for them, so we will give them. So you see, and we are very happy with that because it is in collaboration that we can really, really be successful. So if there is one thing that I would like to really to have this as a takeaway, this is the one that I would like to share with you. We are all in this together. In some way or another, teachers, students, faculty, non-teaching staff, we are all affected in terms of this pandemic. Others are shattered into pieces, but if we will work as a team with the teachers, the students, the stakeholders, the alumni, the parents, even if we are shattered by this pandemic, even if we are suffering, even if the challenge is such a voluminous one, we can put the pieces together, continue what we are doing, excel in what we are doing if we work as a team. That's why I would always say, what does team mean? T for together, E for everyone, A for achieves more. When we work as a team, when we take care of each other's well-being, when we take care of everyone in the university, we are a team, and together, everyone achieves more. Maayong hapon, kanatong tanan.
Yes, we can, Dr. Mini. That was very nice sharing from President Mini Dayagbil from Cebu Normal University, a premier state university from the Visayas. Our next speaker to share her best practices will come from a private university in Mindanao. The Vice President for Academic Affairs of Capital University, Cagayan de Oro City, a lifetime member of PAFTE and the former national president from 2002 to 2004, the former dean of the Graduate School and College of Education of Xavier University in Cagayan de Oro City for 17 years, a former chair of the Technical Panel for Teacher Education Commission on Higher Education, the representative of the Mindanao Teacher Education Institutions to the Teacher Education Council of the Department of Education. Friends, let us welcome Dr. Amor Q. de Torres.
Thank you, Mila. Good afternoon, PAFTE. I'm very honored to speak to you on our experience at Capital University. But I would like to start from an international perspective to get the worldwide pulse. And so I called my presentation Emergency Remote Teaching and Learning, or Pandemic Pedagogy. As they say, what is happening today can best be described not as online education, but as emergency remote teaching and learning, or as some have called it, pandemic pedagogy. And this was taken from a recent journal article from Phi Delta Kappan. And I'd like to quote, "What took place was no ordinary transition, and what occurred was an online instruction per se. It is more accurate to describe it as emergency remote teaching, defined as a temporary shift of instructional delivery to an alternate delivery mode due to crisis circumstances." I thought this will situate us in a certain paradigm that all of us are struggling. We continue. ERT is distinct from ordinary online teaching and learning, in which virtual experiences and online instruction have been planned from the beginning. The distinction between ERT and online learning is therefore crucial. Online learning is a viable, sustainable, valuable method of teaching, but many people continue to view it as inherently inferior to face-to-face instruction. Remote instruction offered this time was not the typical online instruction. Rather, it's important that validating their assumption that teaching online, in other words, we cannot validate that teaching online is not as effective as teaching in a classroom. That would be unfair because we are in a different situation. The extraordinary circumstances teachers face in light of the pandemic prevented them and their students from making a normal transition to remote education. Suddenly we woke up, classes have been suspended, face-to-face classroom have been suspended, and so we have to move on. We are now all operating in the shadow of a global pandemic, and it is disorienting and limiting to proceed with business as usual. We are acknowledging that these are not normal teaching and learning conditions. Ms. Millman suggested that school leaders and educators prioritize needs by establishing short and long-term priorities, being flexible with policies and practices, and collaborating in online communities to support one another, which is exactly, I think, what we're doing, particularly through this PAFTE webinar. And this was taken from this article by David Marshall, Shannon, and Sabanelov, published in September 2020. I have another source, this time from Canada, which is, I think, also interesting. And the title is Pracademics in the Pandemic, Pedagogies and Professionalism. Again, they are from Canada. And what did they say? Particularly similar finding that COVID-19 pandemic has catapulted educational systems into emergency remote teaching and learning. That the pandemic is a critical opportunity to rethink the future of schooling. To me, it is very important, and therefore it is a key to transformational change. As to the contribution, we should not wish for a return to normal, well, in their case, public education, which has never served all children well or equitably. The pandemic is an opportunity to disrupt the status quo, and I would like to challenge everyone. Now, for us, PAFTE, as we move forward, it's good to remember that indeed it will be the educators' professionalism and pandemic pedagogies that will catalyze meaningful transformational change. We are at the threshold, starting a new era in education, and I think that's very exciting. Now, from the international arena, let me move to home, Calinaw, Mindanao. I would like to share with you exactly what we have done at Capital University to prepare for the first semester during the pandemic. From the surveys involving students, faculty, and the community, we started by creating a steering committee chaired by the VPAA with the subcommittees such as policy and content, online pedagogy, IT support, and monitoring and evaluation. And we came up with CUDL, which stands for Capital University Dedicated Distance Learning Environment. It is the framework for flexible learning. Seeing the traditional modes of learning will not be feasible anytime soon, CUDL facilitates the transition towards new learning experiences for the students. It follows a flexible learning design that consists of offline and online learning modalities. These modalities were developed in consideration of the situation of students, particularly their computer readiness and internet connectivity. So CUDL is CU's answer to the call of the times, as it were. Now, incidentally, CUDL, as the word connotes, is CU's way of expressing its culture of care. Cuddle as a verb means to show care. To show warmth of a caring mentor and an understanding community in order to minimize the stress the situation brings. And I think this is very much in keeping with our theme, and this should be given real emphasis. I'd like to continue on with the role of the College of Education in CUDL. The College of Education was initially tasked to help all the members of the faculty understand online pedagogy. They assisted by providing assistance in the module preparation, which is a first step to prepare for online teaching. Giving activities for interactive and student-centered teaching learning activities, which was also shared with all the HEIs in Region 10 through the TWG Chat 10 and reviewed with them the faculty-based, the performance-based assessment. Being the subcommittee on online pedagogy, they provided the implementation guidelines in the faculty guide, consisting of the following: populating Google Classrooms. In other words, what are the contents in the Google Classroom? And therefore, they suggested topics by week to be able to immediately find out how students are faring, complete the learning modules, reading materials and other resources, schedules for synchronous video conferencing and small group discussion, giving assignments, etc. We also talk about production and management of learning materials and assessment, such as the PowerPoints, Google slide presentations, video lessons, worksheets, and other materials. We also have Google account and Google Classroom guides. Particularly, we have subscribed to the Google Suite. One item that was clear is students must enter through invitation and not through code. That way they will know who are coming in. In other words, all of these are to assist the teachers to create virtual classroom. Let me call your attention to the following. Asynchronous tasks, these are papers, reports, discussion, which are guided by the intellectual property rights that has to be explained very carefully, and the Data Privacy Act laws, because of the prevalence of copy-paste, prevalence of posting a picture of a teacher, etc., etc. And in consonance with the academic honesty policy of CU, a student must submit to his or her teacher this signed certification at the beginning of the course, and this we call the Honesty Pledge. And it reads, I promise that I shall act honorably and honestly in completing all the requirements of this module. I shall not cheat, plagiarize, nor seek unauthorized help. I shall comply to the best of my abilities. I affirm that all my work will be my own. Then the signature of the student. That was very important for us because of copy paste, like I said, and infringing on the property rights of others. A session on onboarding training where Google Suite, Google Classroom, digital productivity tools, the learning management system, creation and organization of learning packets was programmed for them. Up until now, we continue retooling the faculty. The college also assisted in the preparation of the primer for students and parents, so they will know what to expect and how online learning will happen. It starts with information on online enrollment and getting cyber account. It talks about the 3 modalities used under the flexible learning mode, such as the online, the hybrid modality, which are a combination of online and offline, and entirely offline. The learning management system, the Google Classroom, proper online behavior or netiquette, contact numbers of persons who can assist them in their needs. This primer also includes the roles and duties of parents on how to go about making the most of online learning and how to assist their children should they have any questions. It also contains the frequently asked questions for quick reference. The students received a copy of their primer upon enrollment. However, an orientation during the opening of classes was done for both students and parents in attendance. Then we have another material called the Faculty Guide. This again was initiated by the college with the help of the other deans, where duties and responsibilities were spelled out and guide on navigating the teaching learning activities online. Emphasis was given on averting IPR violations, especially in the light of the need to download videos and other YouTube materials and how to assist students do the same. These are all very necessary guides to enable all stakeholders to navigate this new virtual learning. Incidentally, the executive director of CUDL is a professor of the College of Education in the person of Dr. Ryan Glenn Nervasa. Now, particularly for the College of Education, what have we done? For the College of Education, all syllabi were reviewed and online pedagogy was embedded. This is to ensure that the future teachers are prepared for online learning or online teaching. Never mind if after 2 years we would have no more COVID and we could go to a face-to-face classroom, but for the time being, this is how we are preparing our students. Online orientation by year level was done to prepare the education students to be aware of the shift from face-to-face contact in the classroom to online or remote learning. In particular, introduction to online pedagogy was added to all the professional education subjects. Curriculum development has a unit on preparing modules and core syllabus for online teaching. Student assessment was focused on authentic and performance-based assessment. And of course, education technology or EdTech, students became a very busy subject as the students learned as much as they can to facilitate online learning. Field study became virtual field study. Teaching internship became virtual teaching internship. That includes protocols in conducting online classes and establishing online classroom routines and procedures. This virtual teaching internship provides a virtual alternative to a real school setting. It prepared the students by practicing role-playing, lesson planning, and preparing instructional materials as shadow teacher to tenured teachers in the CU Basic Education and the Department of Education. Another challenge we posed to our teaching internship students is if they are accepted as online teachers in English or Filipino. Many of our senior students, even before they graduate, are already hired by Aspire, an online teaching company whose clientele are Japanese who would like to learn English. East West University in Hawaii accepts Filipino online teachers to teach Filipino. And we thought, what more exposure is better than being hired as online teachers? Finally, the emergency remote teaching and learning is to us a stopgap, a work in progress. And I would like to ask you that let's all take this opportunity to change the status quo in education. And to change that, it starts with the teacher education through the Philippine Association of Teachers and Educators. Mabuhay PAFTE! Thank you for making me share. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amor. Indeed, there are creative ways in coping with the challenges, especially with your cuddle. Maraming salamat. The next speaker will share best practices from Luzon. If we have one from Visayas, a state university, and then we have Mindanao for a private university, we shall now have from a local college, from Luzon. He is the former regional chair of PAFTE 4A, National President, Alliance of Language and Literature Teachers Incorporated, a board member of UNESCO Club Philippines, an associate professor, 5 City College of Calamba, Calamba City, the immediate past vice president for academics, research and development, City College of Calamba, Calamba City, member of the ARQUAT of Region 4A, and an accreditor of ALCOCOA. Friends, let us welcome Dr. Ronald A. Gonzalez. Dr. Ronald, please.
Hello, good afternoon. May I greet first the dignitaries present, of course, first to the Honorable Commissioner Darilag and to our first plenary speaker, to the President of PAFTE National, Dr. Brenda Corpus, and to the rest of the officers and members of the National Board, and to all the participants of this annual webinar, National Convention of PAFTE. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to present to you our experience in the local college, and hopefully I would be able also to share some common experiences among local colleges and universities. But allow me to share my screen so I can personally manage the presentation. Okay, can you see my screen now? Dr.
Yes,
Mila,
ma'am.
can you see my screen? Okay po. Okay, good afternoon. The title of my presentation is Teacher Education in the COVID-19 Pandemic, the Local College Experience. But first, let me show you the contents of my talk. I divided my presentation into 3. First, the CCC context. What did we do and how did we do it? Because, you know, as we all know, not all schools have the same context, not all schools have the same experiences. So as a local college, I in our own little way, I would like to share with you how did we transition. Number 2 is the pedagogical migration. How did we fare in adopting flexible teaching and learning modalities? And finally, I will also be sharing with you some of our lessons or takeaways from the situation that from this COVID-19 pandemic, as it has greatly affected the education sector. It is important that we need. It is important that we do a little scanning of the environment in our own school for us to know where to start, what approach to use, and if it's going to be online learning, let's say, are the faculty members, students, all the concerned stakeholders ready or prepared for that. So scanning of the environment really is really very, very important, because it provides access. By scanning the environment, we are able to know who among the people in our organization, in our school, have access to the resources, especially resources that are relevant, no, or necessary for these times, the pandemic. And then we are also able to know especially who among our students have the ability to cope with these challenges, and what kind of help and support can the school provide. Because in our school, we really put premium on the learner's context. We operated, especially at the onset of COVID-19 pandemic, we put premium on the situation of our learners, because not all of our students have access to technology at home, uh, given the fact that when the series of lockdowns were imposed, students were not allowed to go out. And so teaching and learning must still continue, but given the limitation in the resources, it has become really a problem among them, and also to the school, because we cannot go on if there's no internet connection, the students have no gadgets. So really have to place the learner's context really at the center of everything that we've been doing in the college. And we did conduct a survey among our teachers and our students, and these challenges were revealed. The availability of resources, number one, we acknowledge the lack of resources, both human and material. When we say human resources, not all faculty members were trained and equipped for technology migration, so to speak. And also the absence perhaps of the learning management systems. And that's very true among local colleges and universities, because installation of LMS would really take more than enough budget. Sometimes it has to, the budgetary allowance, or yeah, the total budget of a local college for school year may uh, consider big chunk of it for the installation of LMS. And not until the onset of this pandemic that local colleges and universities were able to prepare and install such kind of ICT infrastructure. So the availability of resources was one of the challenges, actually. Number two, learners' context. And when it comes to learners' context, we had to consider the situation of the students, because some of our students do not have enough budget to buy their gadgets, buy loads for their cell phones so that they would have data, so that they could communicate to the teachers. Because this COVID-19 pandemic, the lockdowns happened when we were just starting the second semester of the school year 2019-2020. And great big part of the semester was yet to be finished. And so both the teachers and students found it difficult to actually push through, move on with the teaching and learning, because of these challenges in terms of the resources. Technology migration, admittedly, some of our faculty members lack proper training in the use of technology, even the basic in the computer applications, the use of a PowerPoint presentation, the use of applications like the Google Meet and the Zoom, the WebEx, and other applications where we can continue with our teaching learning. We really had to start from there and provide some interventions for their faculty training and like workshop. That next is the geographic location. Even if there's internet connect, even if the students have this, they have the money to buy gadgets, they have the money to buy loads, but because of their geographic location, they are having difficulty in terms of the connection, the signal, the network, the bandwidth is very low. Most of our students are from living outside the city proper. Some of them live in the upland areas, and where the internet connection is really a challenge. And so with these challenges, and because of the survey that we conducted, we came up with some strategic measures. Number one, as I said, because of the result of the survey that teachers need more training, more seminars in terms of applications, in terms of the use of technology, integration of technology in instruction, we had to provide faculty training. A series of trainings and seminars were provided to them as early as March, the first quarter of the lockdown, March, April, and May. So there were seminars and trainings conducted for them. And gladly, these trainings really help our teachers prepare for the continuance of their teaching, even if it's on the modular approach or the asynchronous form of online learning. Next, the management had to have some reallocation and realignment of the budget because when the pandemic, the lockdown, when this COVID-19, when we're struck by this, the budget is already in place. So we had to really reallocate and realignment for the purchase of some devices that will be needed by the school and by the teachers for their for the delivery of instruction, especially for them to be able to finish the second semester of academic year 2019 and 2020. Next is the shift to flexible learning. A lot of options, flexible learning options were introduced to the teachers, but most of them opted the modular print because in relation to the result of the survey, we found out that our students will not be able to access materials that the teachers will be posting online because they have two problems. Number one, they don't have the gadget, and number two, they don't have internet connections. They have connectivity problems. And so what we did was the faculty members were made to make their own modules to finish the remaining part of the course from prelims to finals. So the faculty members did prepare, I think, at least 4 modules, good for the entire second semester. And so if Depth Ed has this MELCs, or the most essential learning competencies, we also adopted that in the development of our module. We selected the topics from the OBTLPs, the outcomes-based teaching learning plans. The faculty deemed these topics as essential topics, and they retained it and they included it in the modules that they developed. For the remainder of the second semester, the approach was modular print. We created a module, and then we sought the participation, the cooperation, and the partnership of the local barangay units to help us in the distribution. Now, that can be considered as our way of migrating to remote and distance learning. Um, the students were able to transition in a way by answering the modules that we prepared for them. But in times of confusion, we indicated the contact numbers, the email address, and other modes of communication by which our students can communicate to us and ask us what is it in the module that they don't understand, because they cannot go to school and they cannot well, some of them cannot contact us via internet. They are also having difficulty using the messenger. Through text messaging and call, sometimes teachers would be the ones to call the students just to ask them how they're doing and how are they what feeling about the modules. They answer the modules with specific frame of time. So really it was a pressure also. Students are time pressured, and so communication really is very important. Now, for the LCU transition plans, the leadership of ALCU, the Association of Local Colleges and Universities, paved the way to, gather all the local colleges and universities and encourage them to submit their own learning continuity plans and transition plans. These transition plans and learning continuity plans became instrumental in actually looking at the direction of the local college and university as to how they can manage successfully from the second semester until the school year 2020-2021. Now, for the first semester of 2021, from the before the COVID-19, we used to have the face-to-face modality, the classroom based, where the goal is to master the competencies. But when the COVID-19 pandemic started in the second semester, we shifted to modular distance learning. Our goal was only to make learning continue during that time, just for us to be able to finish. Maitawid namin yung buong semester. It's enough. Then teachers check the modules. We retrieve the modules with the help of the local government units. But for this semester, first semester, and for the entire academic year, it's not only modular, but there's already this inclusion of online learning as well. We are trying to have this online learning so that students would be able also to experience both the synchronous and asynchronous modality. For students who are suffering from connectivity issues, they could probably have the materials accessed asynchronously. Teachers can prepare materials and can be posted, and those students who cannot do it real time can have it at their own pace at any time. But we're also encouraging teachers to do online consultation, and this is a form of synchronous experience with the learners, synchronous experience of our teachers with the learners. Synchronous learning is not only for like online discussion of topics, like what we are doing in the face-to-face, but this can be in a form of kamustahan. This can be in a form of asking the students how they feel about the situation, and with regards to the material, they can also express their confusion, and the teacher is there to answer and address their questions. Because the goal now with this online distance learning is to actually make our learners at present self they can self-manage, no, develop the self-managed learners who will survive COVID-19 pandemic. And who knows, after this, there would be other circumstances that will necessitate us to actually shift to remote learning. Now, that way, we are confident that the students are already prepared and can do it by themselves. I happened to solicit uh, inputs from other local colleges and universities and ask them about the challenges that they also experienced or encountered in their own school with regards to, you know, the challenges that this COVID-19 pandemic gave us. There were a lot of reactions and inputs, and I'd like to summarize them. I have here a few. Number one, when it comes to the delivery of new scheme or modality for teaching in the new normal, the offered solutions by the local colleges and universities is that the same with City College of Calamba, they conducted series of teacher trainings via, you know, inclusion in the professional development program. The following topics: the transition to the new normal, the development and lesson implementation using the flexible learning, assessment in the new normal, and also addressing the challenges and fostering quality assurance in the new normal. As we speak today, the uh, Association of Local Colleges and Universities is also having, you know, a conference, and we're discussing here in that conference the experiences also of local colleges and universities. And I'm glad that most of the local colleges and universities shared what they've been doing in their own schools. Number two is the poor intermittent internet connectivity. You know, their resolve was the use of the most applicable platform to communicate with the students, like the group chat, instead of video call, because, you know, when you use the video call, the bandwidth is really must be really high, otherwise it will not be a very good tool to communicate. They adapted a blended learning modality. The same with City College, we use the modular instruction. And then some of the schools would request the parents to pick up the modules for the students. They go to the schools and pick up the modules. But in our case, we personally delivered the modules to the barangays. And then we drop the modules to the barangays. The parents pick up the modules in the barangay halls. Same thing we did when for the retrieval. We picked up the modules in the barangay hall, and then so that the students are not exposed, no, because they're not allowed to go out, and to help them not be exposed to, you know, local transmission. Their parents instead did the picking up and then the returning of the modules to the barangay halls. Number three, fear of health and safety in going back to work. Some of the faculty members, office personnel, were made to return back to their respective schools already as we speak now. But you know, the observance of health protocols was strictly followed. They implemented mandatory swab test, and orientation on the health and safety protocols was also done. Difficulty with library use. The schools provided reading materials that can be accessed online. And when it comes to the disrupted enrollment procedures, I think still up to now, some LCUs or local colleges are still entertaining, accommodating enrollees. And this COVID-19 pandemic really disrupted the enrollment flow in our schools. What we did is we modified the enrollment procedures. Students can enroll online. They can also do it face-to-face, or their parents can enroll their kids, their students, so that students would not be going to school for enrollment. Confusions, inquiries, and other concerns among the students, there was an online help desk created for them. They can ask questions, and teachers and staff readily respond to these queries. Disrupted school operation and learning activities. We developed a learning continuity plan, as I said. The transition plans, the LCPs guide the schools to what they should do, not only for the remainder of the second sem, but also for the rest of the academic year, 2020-2021. The trifling ICT literacy, part of the faculty development program is the seminars and workshops where we provide assistance to those faculty members with technological difficulties. We reduced the teaching load of the seasoned teachers. We hired part-time faculty who are more knowledgeable and competent in the use of technology. And very interestingly, we conducted trainings in the use of LMS because the installation of LMS is already part of the plans for this academic year. The lack of training and experience in module making among faculty members, we provided training also for module development. Lack of learning resources, high students dropping rate. We provided the student help desk is also, providing counseling to the students, especially when we saw that there was a significant number of dropping. The dropping rate is really relatively high. The disruptive practice teaching, student teachers were required to submit via online a video presentation of demo teaching to the Dean of the College of Education. In terms of the field study, the students were given classroom-based situations or problems, and then they were asked to make reflections on them.
Sir
At least just...
Sir
Yes,
Rona,
ma'am?
may I ask you to synthesize, please?
Yeah, yeah. So these are some of the problems encountered by the LCUs, all right? And I already mentioned this, help desk was provided to both teachers and students. These were some of the lessons that we learned from the COVID-19 pandemic. Teachers tend to overcompensate. Face-to-face curriculum cannot be automatically migrated to remote learning. On-screen time should be limited. Stronger communication and relationship among teachers, parents, and students, and even with the community, the local barangay units must be there. Team approach to instructional delivery is necessary, and very important, feedback is key. And we have to really consider here our learners' context for us to stay relevant. And these are some of the takeaways. We know that this new paradigm will really gain traction, both for the asynchronous and synchronous and, hybrid learning. And all of these prove one thing: education must continue and it must be made available at all times. Whatever options the school decides, it should make sure that no learner is left behind. Let's all have a growth mindset, ladies and gentlemen, instead of a fixed mindset. And finally, looking at the bright side of COVID, if I may borrow the words of Dr. Akyate of NCR CHED Regional Director, COVID stands for C, compassion, O for obedience, V for versatility, I for inspiration, and D for determination. So let's all look at the bright side of this and let's have that growth mindset together. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. The sharing from the three experts of teacher education institutions have propelled us to learn more and do more. In the interest of time, we shall answer only few questions coming from the chat box so that we can also move on with the rest of the program. May we ask Dr. Malihan to read the questions from the chat box, please?
What did you do with the practicums? I think any among the three could answer. What did you do with the...
May we ask Dr. Amor and Dr. Dayagbil to join us in the open forum, please? Please turn on your camera.
What did you do with the practicumers, and is there any rubric for virtual field study?
If I may, because we have some irregular students who needed to enroll this first SEM, and because we already thought of virtual teaching internship, um, we basically followed what we had before, but everything is online. So what we were saying is if most of them or all of them, we have 26 at the moment, they will be shadow teachers to any full-time and what they call this experienced teacher in the grade school, Capital University, or in the high school, so that what they are doing, they could share, and then they'll tell us or share with us the result, the result, excuse me, of the task. The teacher supervisor knows all these programs. So everything online, and I think that's the only difference. Thank you.
Mama Mila, in the university, we have the laboratory school wherein our student teachers also practice. But this time around, as what Mama Amor said, it's more of the online mentoring. But we are just very lucky right now because we have the last batch of the lifelong learners, right? So there are just very few student teachers this time. So they are also being mentored virtually. And when you talk about rubrics, when you say virtual, we can talk about how do we go about virtual mentoring. So as what Ma'am Amor said, I will not anymore duplicate that. But you mentioned about field study and rubrics. I will just remind all of us that the rubrics will depend on the outcomes of the course. So for example, if you have a certain outcome, then the rubrics will also follow. So if ever there are, and I think maybe what we can do as PAFTE would be to be able to share some best practices on the different rubrics in lieu vis-a-vis the outcomes, because for every competency of the course, we also have specific rubrics for that.
Yeah. If I may share also, I agree with Dr. Mini Dayagbil. We only shifted to online platform, but the criteria, the mechanics are still the same. We follow the rubrics for practice teaching, like demonstration teaching. We follow the same rubrics for classroom observation. But since our students could no longer go to the public schools and observe, and in lieu of that, they are given situations where they can assess and make their own reflections. That particular outcome will be assessed using a rubric. But for a teaching demonstration, when they submitted an online demo, it's a tape actually, a tape or a saved video of their teaching demonstration. There's a particular there are particular criteria being followed, like for example, mastery of the subject matter, communication, the method used, etc. They are still in place. We just changed the platform from face-to-face to online modality, but still the same.
Okay, thank you po. We would like to thank all the speakers for your sharing. Due to time constraints, the other questions will just be answered through FAQ that will be posted at www.pafte.org. Thank you.
May we request, thank you very much to all our speakers. At this point in time, we are going to give their certificate of recognition. So certificate of recognition is given to Dr. Mini Dayagbil, Philomena Dayagbil, President Cebu Normal University. Another certificate of recognition is awarded to Dr. Amorcio de Torres, Vice President for Academic Affairs, Cagayan de Oro, Capital University, Cagayan de Oro City, and Dr. Ronald A. Gonzalez, immediate past Vice President of City College of Calamba, Calamba City. Again, thank you so much. At this point in time, every year PAFTE embarks on a research study which is timely and relevant. Dr. Mercedes A. Macarandang, one of the members of the Board of Directors and Chair of the Research Committee, shall present the research proposal based on the theme of the convention, You are all requested to answer the online survey form, which shall be posted in www.pafte.org. Dr. Makarandang, please.
Thank you, Ma'am Nila. The title of our research is Teachers and Educators' Socio-Emotional Skills and Teaching Practices. The rationale of the study: the global educational system has been reframed by the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. There was a physical discontinuance of classes, community quarantines, retrenchment of employees, and worst of this is that this led to the death of individuals who contracted this virus. This research is anchored on, as a result of this, there is an enormous effect on various sectors, especially on the academic institutions. Thus, educational administrators, teachers, and students adapt to the new normal. And this new normal is characterized by flexible delivery, learning delivery through distance education. And in the process, there were anxieties of teachers and students. They become melancholy and experience sleeplessness and restlessness. These are, of course, considered normal reactions to abnormal situations. Now, this research is anchored on the theory of Bandura, which is self-efficacy theory, that states that emotional and psychological skills are important in an individual's health and well-being. It is difficult to maintain self-efficacy when battling with anxiety or depression. An individual has the power to influence one's own functioning and life circumstances. Similarly, this is also anchored on John's conclusions in their research, saying that there is a strong link between the social and emotional learning skills and life outcomes. Self-control, social competence, and people skills have strongest impact on desirable future outcomes. Now, this study seeks to determine the teachers and educators' socio-emotional skills and teaching practices. Specifically, this looks into the teacher's socio-emotional competence along self-awareness and self-management skills, social awareness, and relationship skills. This study will look into the teachers and educators' teaching practices, the relationship between teachers and educators' socio-emotional skills and teaching practices. After gathering the data, the researchers will recommend for an e-learning program for teachers. Now, this study is significant, for this will further guide teachers on the value of their social emotional skills in the preparation, implementation, and assessment in teaching learning activities, as this believably influence the students' meaningful and sustainable learning. This research use the descriptive correlational method, and the respondents of this study are the teachers and educators in the basic and higher institutions of learning. The instrument used in this study is a standardized tests from or standardized questionnaire from School Connect, available at this website, and the permission to use this was given to us. This proposal was formulated by the research committee composed of myself, Dr. Ethel Abaw, Dr. Maria Elena Morales, Dr. Nelia Prieto, with our consultant, Dr. Elmer De Leon. Now, at this point, I would like to thank Amicus Coy Solutions under the presidency of Ma'am Dorit Santos for helping us in floating the survey, and giving us the partial results of this study later. Thank you very much, and I hope that you will participate in the survey, which is available in the PAFTE website.
Thank you so much, Dr. Macarandang. I hope everyone answers your survey. And once the results are finalized, we shall disseminate this in www.pafte.org. This time, let us learn from the expert. She's an honorary member of PAFTE, a graduate of Philippine Normal University. She was one of the recipients of Gawad Sulo for Education and Advocacy, a prestigious award given by the PNU to its eminent alumni for their remarkable contributions in the respective fields and have lived up to the PNU ideals of truth, excellence, and service. She is the founder of Amicus Koi Solution, a registered partner of a business organization in the United States, Australia, Philippines, which focuses on bridging the gap between educators and learners in technology. A Microsoft Global Training Partner, currently focusing in Microsoft Education Program Solutions and Artificial Intelligence. Please welcome Ms. Rodora M. Santos, President, Amicus Koi Solution.
For including me in your research. So for today, I will cover the hybrid learning, which is what we have to worry about in these coming days. So it's a new model for the future learning. As Dr. Borabo has stated, I'm an alumna of CEU and an alumna of PNU. Everything that I have learned and everything of the accomplishments that I have right now is because of my teachers and my professors when I was studying. Although my business background is no longer Philippines, but pusong Pinoy pa rin po. And of course, once you're an educator, you will always be one. My favorite pastime is studying, and it relaxes me for whatever reason. So I have 2.5 master's degree, and I will now be pursuing my doctorates. And so, because I love to study, sharing what I have learned is my passion. I am a Microsoft solution partner, and with the help of Crayon and Microsoft as the platform that I will be sharing with you today, I'd like to let you know that I got nominated. The company Amicus Koi Solutions got nominated to become part of the Microsoft Education Global Training Partner. So we've heard a lot of information about COVID-19 from our Honorable Darilag all the way to the studies of our representatives from different schools. So everybody has to go through this. So I don't really need to repeat it. What they have done already has covered what we needed to discuss. And I know that because you're all educators, you know your curriculum, you know your content. It's just a different modes of training, or instead of seeing them, we have the online studies. And the good thing for us is that it shows the resilience of the Filipinos, the resilience of the educators, because say we study for 4 years, but what happened to us with COVID-19, we were put in a situation that we have to react right now. Not tomorrow, right now. But I am pleased to see that all of you has embraced this, embraced the challenges, and I would say that we are passing through this. Private schools in Philippines has started already, and public schools has decided to start last Monday. And I know that there's I heard a lot of words, growing pains, but just like what our president from Cebu saying that we are a team, magkakasama po tayong lahat dito, and we are here to help each other. There is a good study too that you may want to look at. It's about the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. They have released a study of impact of COVID-19 on education. The current crisis has tested our ability to deal with large-scale disruptions. It is now up to us to build at its legacy a more resilient society. And I know Philippines were forced into 21st century digital learning. But I would say that everybody's helping each other, which is a good thing. And it's good to hear that our local government is supporting our state universities as well. I'll share with you the link so you can go through them. It's a wonderful tool that they can provide us, gives us insights of what's happening out in the world. I am in Australia right now, so the technology allows us to do this. Wala na pong, there's no more barrier. It's just a matter of doing the right thing, preparing for what we needed to do, and all of you has done a tremendous study already. So we all did educational models. Schools, universities, you've explored numerous educational models. Things that may work in other countries, you try to adopt them, and things that doesn't work, then you try it. You try something different. But at the end of the day, if we're all together as educators, I know that we will be able to pass through this. We always say, let's prepare for the students. It's not just limited to K-12 or higher education. We are all students in this COVID situation. It's just so happened that we're like probably 20 pages ahead of our students right now. But the good thing is that with your knowledge in content and curriculum and partnering and bridging this with the technology savvy generations, hopefully we will have that gap and we will be able to pursue it. They are quick in technology, but you are the only one who could tell them the right way, and you would be able to assess them. All of us has hybrid learning environments, so it's a combination of the good models of what is good for a hybrid approach. So it's a learning built to success of all the models that we already know. It's just a different blending. Of course, all of you has tried to prepare for the learning environment, your classroom community, and I'm happy to please and see that when we have sometimes Microsoft Teams meeting and we have not seen our professor or even our colleagues, it's good that you will be able to see them. There's a lot of modalities, of course. Google is there, Zoom is there, Microsoft Teams are there. So it's for you to try and don't be scared about it. The good note is that everybody transitions. School, universities prepare for all of this. But PAFTE has also embraced the 21st century. Their mission and vision is to help educators. And I would say that they have done a tremendous job. They did a leap of faith on June 8th when they started the mid-year. And now here we are on the 49th National and 10th International Convention. And we're quite pleased to see that all of you out there are really here to be part of us. Of course, all of these tools that are available right now, we wanted to provide feedback to students. And the research survey that we will show you allows us to reach out to you without making a lot of issues that traveling or lack of it or lockdowns and everything. So I will briefly show you the results of the survey. And thank you very much for sharing and spending time with us. It is a formative feedback. All of us knows about this. Whether you're face-to-face or online, we need to do this. And it's important for us teachers to be able to understand feedback, formative feedback. We don't want to fail students. We want to help them. When we tell them we want them to be in grade 5, we wanted them to be really in grade 5, understanding the content of what they have to do to really move to grade 6. So the tools that we have available are already there to help you. It applies to any content area, it engages the students, it gives you results, and it's not to scare them in the assessment period. So what I'd like to do now is that instead of me going through my presentation slides, let me just share with you the results of your participation. And thank you very much for giving us this opportunity and including us in your journey to this issues in the COVID-19. So as you see, these Microsoft Forms, we've given you the link and you have participated really well. And what it does is that it gives you, so you have a sets of questions that you can always copy, duplicate to another version and do your permutations, but it gives us somewhat an information about what is happening out there. So it's good to see that we have a lot of higher education representatives out there. We somehow have a good balance of representatives from public and private schools out there too. And of course, our most important part of the survey, and as you see, we have different regions being participating in this survey. So thank you very much. And so what we have is that at the end of all the study that the research committee from PAFTE has done is that we're just trying to assess what is the self-awareness and social awareness of our teachers and educators right now. We seem to be doing really well, but let me not give you the results of it. I will leave it to the experts to give us these results. And just like what Dr. Borabo has stated, it will be published to the PAFTE.org website. And let's look at quickly of your teachers' instructional practices. And of course, there is somewhat a big gap here that may be something that we need to study. But this is one form of feedback that you have. It's current, something that you could use, and something that you could analyze freely, because at the end of the day, all of these results will be able to download it in one of the Microsoft Excel file that will be good when you're doing some research, things that will help you study and understand what is going on. So for today, thank you very much for joining our short survey. And we will be sharing this information. And once again, I'd like to share, and please share the PAFTE Research Committee survey to your schools, universities, and when things are over, we will share with you the results. I'm Maria Rodora Santos. Thank you very much for being here. We know that you have a lot of choices of webinars to attend to, pero maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rodora Santos, not only as our speaker today on hybrid learning, but our technical consultant in all aspects of PAFTE endeavors. Maraming salamat. Certificate of recognition to Ms. Maria Rodora M. Santos, President, Amicus Coi Solution.
Thank you, Pa.
As a teacher, we always have to synthesize, to do a certain recap of what has been learned for the day. To synthesize all the learnings that we have done today, we shall ask our Executive Secretary of PAFTE National, Dean of University of San Carlos, Cebu City, and the Zonal Representative for Visayas of the Teacher Education Council, Dr. Rita May P. Tagalog. Dr. Rita, please.
Okay, maraming salamat po, ma'am. Magandang hapon po sa lahat. It has been an enriching afternoon for all of us, and I would like to share with you the highlights and significant takeaways of today's webinar through a recap. The shift to full online learning in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic has brought change and challenges to the teaching learning processes, and this becomes unrealistic if social emotional learning, or SEL, for students and educators is left out of the conversation. Today's first day of the annual PAFTE webinar, Dr. Brenda Corpus, the PAFTE president, has welcomed us to the convention with the theme the promise of social emotional learning amidst COVID pandemic, and has set the direction of what we should expect for the 2 days convention. This was followed with the introduction of our keynote speaker, the CHED Commissioner, Dr. Aldrin Darilag, who highlighted the need to support the social and emotional development of our Filipino teachers and students due to the disruptive impact of COVID-19 and to foster student-centeredness through providing an array of services for the prevention for the school leaders in providing teachers with instructional and technological professional development to support teachers' effectiveness, as well as opportunities for a long-run improvement. The Commissioner has also informed us with the updates of the CHED in providing various grants and supports to different HAIs in innovating solutions in response to the aftermath of COVID-19. An enriching discussion on the topic weaving social and emotional learning in the physical and virtual classroom was shared to us by Dr. Maria Caridad Itztaroja, a psychologist and teacher herself. She affirmed the importance of developing the social emotional learning competencies such as self and social awareness and management, relationship and responsible decision-making skills to understand and manage emotions like stress and anxiety caused by the pandemic, to feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and how to make responsible decisions in times of crisis. She also provided us with practical wellness programs so we can take good care of ourselves as teachers and educators, the financial, environmental, and spiritual wellness that may affect our day to day engagement, both personally and professionally, because I matter. We are also blessed with the sharing of the different practices on how to address education problems in times of pandemic by the distinguished administrators of public and private HEIs. Dr. Filomena T. Dayagbil, the president of Cebu Normal University, has underlined the importance of establishing a learning continuity plan in an institution and in braving the storms and threats created by the pandemic. She underscored the significance of acknowledging challenges that are associated in the pursuit of their plan through an evidence-based analysis that resulted to the development of the learning achieves more. Dr. Amor Q. de Torres, the Vice President for Academic Affairs of Capital University, has shared to us their learning continuity plan with the acronym CUDDLE, the university's way of expressing culture of care. This institutional strategy is in response to the call of delivering quality education without compromising safety. This learning continuity plan has orchestrated the online pedagogy with interactive teaching learning activities, assessment, and module preparation. On the other hand, Dr. Ronald M. Gonzalez, immediate past VPAA of Calamba City College, has featured their college strategic measures undertaken and in response to this crisis. He emphasized the importance of environmental scanning, profiling of students in relation to a shift of paradigm in teaching and learning, the provision of appropriate resources, and the need to collaborate with community partners. Since everyone is busy exploring one's response to this emergent educational setting, a research on teachers and educators' socio-emotional skills and teaching practices was conducted by PAFTE Research Committee, headed by Dr. Mercedes E. Macarandang, as PAFTE's contribution to the field of education. The partial result was collected through a School Connect questionnaire and was presented using the Microsoft Teams software. Today's convention has given us a takeaway once we're back for work. An appreciation to Ms. Rodora M. Santos, President of the Amicus COI solution in providing us with a model for future learning, the hybrid learning. Let us remember then that to be successful in hybrid learning, there are 5 elements to consider: the learning community, the lesson design, engagement and interactivity, and assessment and feedback. We would like also to thank Dr. Milagros Burabo in walking us through the path to this first day of Cell Journey by facilitating our webinar today and providing us some exercises in working at home. We may be in the wake of the pandemic and might have been facing challenges. However, this will not stop us in providing continuity and quality of learning. Let us make ourselves updated and be guided on how to address the new teaching and learning requirements such as the social emotional learning. Join us again as we continue the second day of the 49th National and 10th International PAFTE Convention. Maraming salamat po.
What a very great and comprehensive synthesis, Dr. Tagalog. Thank you very much. May we remind you again of the things that you need to do in order to earn the 15 CPD units. You are supposed to answer the evaluation form and the assessment task, and this one will be given on day 2. You are now given until Wednesday, not 2 days, but until October 14, 2020 to submit the required task. The certificate will be emailed to you after a review of your submitted evaluation forms and assessment tasks. We hope that with all these reminders, you'll be able to earn the 15 CPD units. Again, enlist yourselves as members of PAFTE by following the steps in the infographics. Visit www.pafte.org. At the end of this seminar, we are very grateful to all our speakers. Honorable Aldrin Arenas Darilag, Commission on Higher Education, Dr. Maria Caridad H. Taroja, Associate Professor 6, De La Salle University, Manila, Dr. Filomena T. Dayagbil, President, Cebu Normal University, Dr. Amor Q. De Torres, Vice President for Academic Affairs, Capital University, Cagayan de Oro City, Dr. Ronald A. Gonzalez, Immediate Past Vice President and Research Director of City College of Calamba, and lastly, to the President of Amicus COI Solution and our Technical Consultant of PAFTE. Maraming salamat. At the end of the virtual experience, it's but fitting and proper to thank God for His bountiful blessings. Dr. Romeo M. Daligdig, Public Relations Officer, PAFTE National, shall lead the closing prayer. Dr. Daligdig, please.
Let us have our closing prayer. Almighty and loving Father, we humbly come before you to worship you and magnify your holy name. Thank you for blessing this PAFTE webinar with competent and distinguished guests and resource speakers, supportive and dedicated officers, active members and participants, that all made this day one productive and significant. Grant us all the time, the competence and compassion to continuously deliver our duties and responsibilities in accordance to thy will. As we celebrate the success of the first day, it is our prayer that you continue to bless us as we welcome the second day tomorrow and be able to share more to others the desired and essential socio-emotional learnings and skills. Help us embrace the new normal with resilient, proactive, and nurturing heart. Unite us with your love, mercy, and holy will for us to advance personally and intellectually as professional teachers and educators. We commit to you our dreams and aspirations as we remain faithful and committed in molding the pre-service and in-service teachers and the learners entrusted to us. Instill in our hearts the true meaning of nobility and service to humanity amidst this pandemic. As we close the program today, with gratitude and thanksgiving, we praise you and ask you to keep PAFTE family and our loved ones and everyone around safe and healthy, and to be always in your loving might and fountain of forgiveness. All this we pray to our Almighty God the Father. Amen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Daligdig. Again, may we invite you to be a member of the Philippine Association for Teachers and Educators. Access www.pafte.org. The online membership is already open. And for those who were not able to attend the live webinar, kindly advise all your friends and co-teachers that there is what we call video on demand. This will be on October 24, 2020, November 7, 2020, November 14, 2020. It will also have the same process and the same topic and the same CPD units. The only thing is you can only earn the CPD units only once. So if you have attended this live webinar and you have completed this live webinar, you need not attend the video on demand. Thank you for joining our Day 1 convention. This is your moderator, Dr. Milagros Limborabo, Vice President for Luzon, Executive Director. And let us be a blessing to everyone. Mabuhay ang PAFTE!